Hello, everyone, and it's time for Almost an Agreement. Sam's in the room, Max on the phone, AC's out with some kids because he's a pervert like that, and we'll talk more about his perversions later. We're Almost in Agreement, almostinagreement@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and go to our website, almostinagreement.com, and check us out there. That's the good stuff. I got my 22 voter guide. It's got links to everybody's websites as well as their interviews with me if I've gotten one together. I've been talking to a few more people, trying to get a few more interviews in, and the state races have begun. So we've got state race candidates. One of the state race candidates may be going, well, he's got subpoenaed at least, so. But nobody's running against him, so it doesn't really matter. So his job's safe. We'll talk about that among other stuff in that set. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to your favorite podcast provider. Give us a like and share there. Tell your friends about us. We're going to keep working through what we're keep working through. And hopefully I'll get to do my exciting announcement, but not tonight. Because, I've agreed not to let the cat out of the bag until it's time. So, anyway, we're almost in agreement, everybody. It's time to get back to business. Whiskey. Were you machine gunning over there, Max? What was that background?
Nope.
Just piping.
Some guy. That was weird. That came through like it was like. Are you shaving with a big Bowie knife? That's what it sounds like.
Exactly.
Like in the movies, or they're shaving with a Bowie knife. Oh shit, man! So, you just got back from Florida. I just got back from Florida.
Yeah.
We both ran away from the blizzard of 22 successfully.
Yeah, I did. We got a lot of snow here.
Yeah, 6+. I mean, it was like a legit. I left Saturday morning, and I mean, it was a solid 6 inches of snow on the car.
That's a bunch.
Yeah, for Knoxville, Knox County, that's some serious snow. But yeah, we got to get out of there. The Gradle. The Gradle is on the water with both engines working.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. That's the good stuff. And it's your brother's birthday today? Yesterday.
Yeah. And my sister-in-law is on the 30th. So.
Oh, that's handy. They have birthdays close together.
Yeah, they have people coming down all week. For the next 2 weeks, I think.
Paid people, or are they still giving rides for free?
No, they're not. They don't. They wanted to do the chartering, but I guess they said, he's like, I don't like people that much to be on my boat and, tending to their needs. So it's just they're retiring out of the boat. And I mean, yeah, you did say they're going back to school or going back to teaching. Yeah, they are. When we're actually down there, my sister-in-law got I guess they applied in Savannah, and so she got a call, and we dropped her off at the airport Monday. It's pretty funny. We dropped her off in Key West because they were flying to school, wanted to fly her out for an in-person interview. Mm-hmm. So we dropped her off in Key West, and then we left from Key West, and then we drove from Key West to West Palm Beach. And then we stayed a night at some friends in West Palm Beach and then left back to Knoxville Tuesday morning. And we went through Savannah and we were like, do you need to ride to the airport? And she was like, well, no, I already set up an Uber to come get me. I was like, that'd have been hilarious to drop her off in one place and then drop her off again. And then go pick her up and drop her off in Georgia. That's funny as shit. I like it. But yeah, she got the job, and so they'll be up there. They have to be out of Florida by the 1st of July for insurance purposes. So hurricane season starts rolling in officially. Yeah, that's the beginning of hurricane season, and their boat. Like for them to have it south of the Florida border, it's crazy. It's like a $60,000 deductible if anything happens to your boat. Yeah. Yeah, it's like half a new boat. Deductible. Yeah. Man, we watch. How was Disney? Disney was pretty awesome. I mean, it's Disney; they do it right. They just do. My 2 major lessons learned is the Lightning Lane, their Fast Pass thing or whatever, is tricky. And if you don't know how to use it, it's not worth having. If you know how to use it, which we didn't, so I'm not sure if knowing how to use it would have made it much better.
But like it's weird because it's not like, you know, like I remember first when those things when they first started coming out or whatever, I was at like I guess it was Six Flags Atlanta. I guess I'm trying to remember where it was. I think it was Six Flags Atlanta, and we bought one, and it was like a little hockey puck thing that you had to carry around, and you'd walk up to the line and you'd scan it, and then it would tell you like when to come back or whatever. But then when you came back, you just scanned it on the thing and went in. But you could go back, you could do a whole lap around the park, scan everything, and then do another lap around the park, and just go not wait in line on those same set, like in that same order. Where the Disney one is like at 7 a.m. the day of, you can book a ride, and it's more like dinner reservations than it is like
and you can't book another one until you ride that one or whatever.
Right, until you ride that one or 2 hours later. So if you get up at 7, book one. And then, you know, saunter in, because most of them didn't open until 8:30 or 9 anyway. At about 9, you could book another one. And then you could either book another one after you cleared all of yours out of the queue or 11 o'clock. And so, like, the trick would be to, like, book late stuff early and then start booking early stuff. And so as you get off stuff, you're booking the next thing or whatever. I mean, it's still worth it. We did it at Magic Kingdom. You know, we got on like 6 or 7 rides without having to wait more than like 15 minutes. The real hack that I learned is go to Hollywood Studios, go to Star Wars, dork out, and then go ride the Smuggler's Run as a single rider. Because that one, it's a 6-person ride. And so, you know, how many groups of 3 or 4 or 5? And so, like, if you're in a group of 3, the line when I walked up was like 90 minutes. And it's like, single riders go over here. And I was like, is this just whatever? And they're like, yeah, go ahead. So I go in there, and it's all the way up to the front. And they're taking groups of 3 and 4 and 5 and shoving these single riders in with these groups that have been waiting for an hour and a half. But it's way up there at that point in the ride. And like I said, it was like a 90-minute wait when we got there, and nobody wanted to wait 90 minutes. So I was like, well, I'm going to go and do whatever. And they're like, okay. And so I go to the single thing, and I was on and off in like 15. And I think I would have been on and off in 5, but 2 of the 2 people that waited in line for wherever were on scooters, and then me and 3 other people in singles got paired with these 2 in scooters, and there's only one of the little unit things on the actual ride itself that's handy capable, and so they had to wait like a full cycle, and so we ended up like 3 groups went ahead of us while we were waiting for the one unit that they could get on, or that we could get on with our scooter people. So like if I hadn't had them as who I got stuck with, I probably would have been on and off in 10 minutes, and the ride's like 6 minutes by itself.
Yeah, the single rider is kind of, if you're okay with not like sitting next to the person you're with, go. And sometimes you will, like if it's just me and my wife, we'll just go to the single rider because there's high chance that we'll be together, you know? Yeah,
like the couple on the scooters, and then 3 kids that were down there with some band that were together, but didn't want to wait and went singles, and me. So it was, of the 6 different people on the ride, 3 of them were together but weren't in the together line, and so it just kind of worked out like that. But it was cool. That was pretty awesome. I'll tell you what, we went the kids stayed at a friend's house last night, so me and the missus went on a date. We went to the Turkey Creek Theater and went to a 4DX. Have you been to a 4DX movie at Turkey Creek yet?
Nope.
I have not been to a movie theater in probably 3 years.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
For the most part, I agree with you, because that's where I'm at too. We saw Endgame when it came out way back in the day, like 3 or 4 years ago, and then we went and watched the new Spider-Man because the kids really wanted to see that. But that was all I'd seen between those 2. But anyway, we had the chance, and so we took a date night, and we went and saw this. I don't remember what it is. It's Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum, and there's a little bit of Brad Pitt in there, and Harry Potter's the bad guy. It's a pretty fun, stupid, like action rom-com. But the 4DX theater it's a movie theater that's like the Avatar ride at Animal Kingdom, sort of.
Where it like throws air in your face.
Right, throws air in your face, like spits water at you when they're getting wet. The whole, like the seats are in sets of 4, and the whole set of 4 seats like shakes around and leans forward and leans backward depending on what's going on. That's pretty, like, I don't know. I'm not sure that the movie we went to see made sense for it, but I could see that being really cool in certain movies. But we did that last night, and that was a first. But yeah, Disney was great. Weather was perfect. It was a little chilly, but I didn't care because I don't want to be in the pool per se. The kids didn't give a shit. They got in the pool and froze their asses off because they don't care.
Yeah.
So it was a win-win on that one.
We left. We sailed out. Funny story. Well, not funny story because it got fucked up. But so we got there early Saturday and kind of chilled at our friend's house, and then went to the boat Saturday night, and then left Sunday morning to go sailing. And so we pull out of the boat. He was anchored, so we're picking up the anchor, and I'm on the front of the boat.
Right.
Picking up the anchor, and I'm like, hell yeah, we're finally going sailing. I've spent over a month on this boat and never went sailing before. And so I'm standing on the front of the boat, and we're driving, and all of a sudden, like, the boat stops, and I go flying forward. I grab the protective. There's like a metal rope that runs around the outside of the bow.
Like, so this is full on Titanic moment, right?
Yeah, and I cut the shit out of my thumb pretty bad. My thumb is still numb. Talked to the doctor, and he said, yeah, it's probably nerve damage, and it'd take about 6 months to come back. But almost flipped over, almost went off the boat, and I was like, I thought my brother like slammed on the brakes or something. And like he was fucked with me, trying to make me fall. No, we hit a sandbar.
Oh.
So, yeah. And like, we weren't going fast. We're going like 5 knots, but you hit a sandbar and you just stop. I mean,
yeah. It's the earth versus the momentum of your boat.
Yeah.
The earth wins every time.
But luckily, it's sand, and the catamarans are meant to like drive up on sand, not that fast.
Yeah, but it didn't damage the boat. It just you might have lost the thumb.
Just damaged the boat. Yeah, and if I tell you what, if that wire didn't have like a plastic coating on it, it probably would have took it off my thumb. So, but yeah, and then we leave out, and we're in 15 to 18 feet swells. And I was like, this is kind of nuts. This is not what I was expecting. We're sailing, sails up and everything. And so we did a 10-hour sail that day. And we get to Fort Lauderdale. And my brother's like, yeah, that's the most craziest sailing I've ever done. He said, if you guys weren't on the boat, I would have turned back in port. But I was like, we got people meeting us. We got to get down there. But then after that, every day was beautiful, blue skies, beautiful sailing, dolphins jumping everywhere. So it was fun.
That's the good stuff. Nice. Sounds like it was a good trip. Minus the losing the thumb thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So in the local news portion of the story, this is one of the stories that's come down recently. The actual event was a little while ago, but there was an update to the story. This is from Knox News. Knoxville cop was speeding at more than 80 miles per hour without lights or siren when he killed a driver. A Knoxville police officer was speeding at more than 80 miles an hour without lights or siren activated when he struck a car on Kingston Pike, killing a 27-year-old driver. The family of the person who died in the crash met with D.A. Allen on Thursday afternoon to review the dash cam footage of the wreck that shows the officer failed to turn his lights and siren. Earlier this week, Knox News reported that Sharm will not prosecute the officer for the wreck. He remains on active duty. Tennessee law and Knoxville Police Department policy each require officers to activate lights. So I'm not sure what the deal is. At 3 o'clock in the morning, he's going to a burglary, is what it says further down in the story. There's a call for a burglary. He was heading that way, but for some reason he didn't turn the lights or the siren on, and he plowed into somebody, and he will not be charged with anything.
How would he not be charged? That's what I don't understand. Not be charged. That does not make any sense whatsoever. He killed somebody.
Right.
Well, he said the district attorney, because I thought I saw another story that the family's suing him for like $3 million.
Yeah, the wrongful death they filed a wrongful death suit. So here's the question: so if the speed limit's 45 and you're driving 45 and you hit somebody and kill them. Is that a vehicular manslaughter or something like that? Would you or I get charged with something if we hit somebody following the law at the time of the accident? It just happened to be a stupid accident.
Well, I think it depends on what it is. If, like, you're driving down Kings Pike at 45, doing speed limit, and someone pulls out in front of you and you slam into them, you know, or vice versa. You're pulling out, you don't see them, and they hit you, but it's your fault. I mean, that's kind of... I would probably be charged with something.
Right, right. Assuming speaking in generalities, you're at fault, but you weren't breaking the law at the time of, other than following too closely, because when you rear-ended somebody, you're by default following somebody too closely.
Yeah.
But if there's no criminal activity that led up to it, it was just an accident, that you were at fault, you think you would get charged for something?
Absolutely would.
Right. Now, this being the case, you know, with the officer was, at least out of policy, according to the article, that the policy is that he should have had his lights and siren on if he's responding to a call. But I can see at the same time it's a burglary, and maybe you don't want to have lights and siren on because maybe the person is still there burgling, and you don't want to alert them of your presence so that they start running and you have to chase them, where you could trap them in place.
Bullshit. I'm not following that at all. Like, I'm sorry.
That's done in a lot of cases, but they usually don't turn their lights and sirens off until they get actually like close to it. They're a couple blocks away or whatever.
The way the story reads is that it's policy that if they're responding to a call where they're going to exceed speed limit and drive excessively, or for whatever we want to call it, they are obligated by KPD policy to go lights and siren on. And for whatever reason, he didn't. And there's no charges.
Yeah, I mean, that's stupid because, I mean, I don't care if it's policy. Even if there was a policy, like, I mean, there's not a police station in the world that has a policy. Oh, you're a cop. You can break all the laws, any laws you want, whether your sirens are on or off. You know what I mean? So if you are breaking a law, driving a vehicle, you need to have your sirens on.
I mean, I just think it's an interesting story. It doesn't get. I haven't seen much on it other than some buzz from the people that I know and talk to. Like, I feel like this should be a pretty big story.
This was like a year and a half, 2 years ago.
It was a 2016 Charger the cop was driving. The crash is under investigation by the Highway Patrol. KPD's Turtle Affairs Unit is also investigating. Klingman.
So just to get crazy, what are the races of the cop and the person that was killed? Do we know that?
I'm going to guess that the victim is Hispanic by the name given. Mauricio Luna is our victim. Our officer is Cody Klingman. Klingman.
That doesn't make any sense. It just does not. I don't really have words.
Yeah. So,
you know,
2016 Dodge Charger Cruiser versus a Honda Accord. Don't get a year. We don't have what year the Honda Accord was.
Like, why would they give one and not the other? Because the Honda Accord was so destroyed they can't tell what
they don't know.
Is.
Right.
Damn, I think it said he didn't have a seatbelt on either. The
officer didn't. Yeah, I saw that too. They receive 116 hours of driver training in the Recruit Academy and at least 2 hours during yearly in-service. 2 hours a year they practice driving.
Well, they practice driving all the time, but they probably practice driving high speeds or something during those 2 hours.
Yeah, or they would have them essentially going through like a cone course, but trying to do it at a faster speed. Two guys that I worked with, I wouldn't have thought to do it, but you're pretty much leaving your hands always at like 3 and 6, and you're just kind of like shuffling the steering wheel during like a high speed. You never do this like hand over hand. But apparently, I guess it's like the quickest way to actually like move the steering wheel left to right is to doing that kind of quick shuffle. You've always got your hands at like 3 and 6.
Looks like the incident was August of last year. I mean, it just says August 13th.
Okay.
So since it doesn't give a year, I'm assuming it's the most recent August 13th. And since it didn't happen in the future, it had been in August of last year would be my assumption.
Should have been on our way to vote. The guy was not fired or anything.
Yeah, still active. No,
I think he's been on administrative leave or something.
No, it said up there a second ago he's still active.
He's still an active
That was
officer.
that was in Knox County.
I think he's
or Knox
City.
I think he's been on like desk duty or whatever since, or modified duty.
He remains on active duty, is what the quote from the story says. It says, Allen will not prosecute for the wreck. He remains on active duty. I don't know how else to interpret that. I was talking to Matt Shears about that Maryland's redistricting got thrown out because it was too aggressive.
Saw that.
Just like, I don't know. Like I laughed at him because he's like, yeah, we gerrymander too. It's like, he didn't say that way. Let me. That was a strong paraphrase on my part. Matt didn't say that. Yes, we gerrymander too, but he did acknowledge the fact that I mean, again, I don't know if you guys remember when I had him and Randy the first time. That was one of the things we were talking about. And Randy's whole point was, we're in a GOP state. The GOP is going to like Randy owned the idea. We're going to do it because it's advantageous for us to do it. If you guys, like the whoever's the minority in the state is the one that's always sour about it. But in all states are not, some states are Democratic majority, some states are Republican majority. It's whoever the minority is in the state's the one that's complaining about it. And we're a majority in this state, so we're going to do it here. You're a majority in those states, and you guys are going to do it there. And, it was just funny to me that I got Matt to acknowledge the fact that as a national party, it's not. Basically, I made Matt say that Randy was right. Is really what I was, which is a fun thing to get Matt to say.
I don't see it, but okay.
Okay, it's just both local. Well, prior GOP chair Knox County and current Knox Dem party chair both acknowledge that their own parties gerrymander. Without using the term gerrymander, they redistrict in their favor.
I mean, did either dispute it in the first conversation?
I mean, they both kind of gave that weird, like, kind of bullshitty whatever. And blame, like, that was one of the few things in the first one where we promised to keep it civil, where they started getting a little bicker at each other. So, yeah, I don't know.
Because it goes back and forth. It's like, well, you did it. Well, we did it because you guys did it.
And we're going to do it because you did it last time. Yeah, state races are starting to come out. So that's been a fun little bit of a watch. My District 18 is going to be exciting. Because Eddie Manis is going to get primary challenged by county party vice chair, which is fucked up. Like, I don't know if that's against the rules per se, but it's a very unstandard practice. Then I also saw that Kyle Ward and somebody else are running for state executive committee, and I didn't know. That's another one. I didn't know you could be on the state executive committee and hold an elected seat at the same time. And I don't think it'd be advantageous to vacate your.
He'd be going from a.
I don't think it's a paid position at any level in the state executive committee. No,
but he's going to a state level job versus semi-local, I guess.
I mean, if he has asked for... See, but I don't know. Because, again, my understanding of it is very... It's not abnormal. It happens fairly regularly that usually more specifically, like, let's say, Lafferty's in 14, right? Lafferty's at 14, and there's nobody running against them. It wouldn't be uncommon for a Knox County Democrat executive committee or even a state executive committee from the same district to vacate their committee to run for that seat. It's super uncommon for them to primary a current Republican out of a committee seat, I guess is what I'm trying to get. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Are you reading something?
I'm trying to find the petition. There we go. Petitions for the state level. Constance, Angry Constance, is running for governor. She promised she would. So I'll have to get her on the show now.
Angry Constance.
She's angry, man. She really is, and not unjustly. To be fair, not 100% unjustly. But she was the lady that was yelling on the side of the street. That a bunch of their she's one of the ones that got arrested at some of the school board Knox County Commission meetings post Anthony Thompson situation. She's a very loud, aggressive, angry political operative. I don't know what to call her. Now she's a candidate.
Political operative.
I mean, now she's a candidate, but she is a very. I mean, I don't know what's the word. Like she's an activist.
Activist, community organizer.
And so, but like to me, the ones to watch on the state level is going to be 15, which I believe is you, Sam, because that's Sam McKenzie's new district. No, it's still Sam McKenzie's old district, but it moved around some of the different stuff. 18, where Elaine Davis is running against Eddie Manis. 90, which is Gloria Johnson's new district.
Looks like Lafferty's 89.
Lafferty's 89. I was doing Zachary is who I was talking about.
Oh, okay.
Zachary's running for 14, unopposed.
I don't like him.
He's under. He's on that investigation.
See, I saw an article with a picture of it, but I was reading an article today, and he wasn't any of the people that were listed that were a part of it.
Yeah, that's another one I got.
So there's like 10 or 12 people that are implicated in it. Tennessee
Lookout does not like to link from Facebook for me. Because Lookout was who we were looking at the that TWRA story. And I kept trying to click through the link and it wouldn't open right.
Huh. I just got me a 6-month subscription to the Tennessean.
Was FBI raid right?
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Speaker Sexton, I know, is one of them. Nashville, Tennessee, this is from WKRN.com. Nashville. Speaker Cameron Sexton was among several Republican lawmakers subpoenaed to testify in front of a federal grand jury. The investigation surrounding former GOP Senator Glenn Casada, a top aide of his, and the alleged scheme to pocket money from legislative mailers is heating up. The latest on this investigation happened just 2 weeks after the Republican Representative Robin Smith pled guilty to federal wire fraud in connection to what prosecutors say was a shadowy scheme from a political consulting firm known as Phoenix Solutions. I'm feeling dramatic with my reading. The firm is led by top aide Casada, Kate Cuthbert, and Matthew Phoenix. Both are linked to funneling money from legislative mailers according to federal court. Sexton confirmed that he is cooperating with federal authorities, saying... in part, it is not unexpected that I and other members would be called to appear before a grand jury to provide factual statements as part of an ongoing investigation. We've already had some indictments, and it's looking like we're going to see more, and needs to happen because no one is above the law. That was from Gloria Johnson. Governor Bill Lee is also attempting to skirt questions around it. Speaking of Governor Lee, we got the... we'll finish this. I'll go back to that one. Anyway, it is unclear to me. So some... persons were...
I thought something had to do with like vouchers as well, but that may be a separate story. I'm thinking.
I know Governor Lee's getting sued for that one.
But that's separate from this investigation.
Yeah, I did talk to Gloria yesterday.
I saw her in one of the committees. She was sitting on a row of... It was only like 2 rows in this committee. And she was like down in the bottom row, like all by herself. Don't know if it was
Oh, she did tell me that she finally got an assistant a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, good for her.
And like what, next week, 2 weeks is the end of the session. So in her entire term, she's had an assistant for like 3 or 4 weeks. It's fucked up.
Now, when is the end of the session? Because I thought, like I said, I was watching some of the committee meetings, and they were wrapping up those, but then they were talking about moving some to another committee meeting on like the 30th. And I'm like, well, that's next week. I thought you guys were wrapping all this up.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I get confused. Like that's what she said.
Send them a calendar. I'm like, okay, is there a calendar committee that puts these things to I guess puts them on the calendar to discuss in the broader, in the House or the Senate? Every time I think I learn a little bit more about it, I get more confused.
Yeah, it's madness. Well, I mean, it was funny to me.
I just get confused on the process of it, because a lot of it has to go through different committees. Like, if there's money involved, I guess it has to go through the finance committee to go over the budget or whatever. If it has anything to do with agriculture, I think it has to go through, like, the agriculture committee. It's got to pass certain committees. I guess if it involves this or that, if it has anything to do with schools, I think it has to go through the education committee.
Right.
Or in each one of those steps, they could have amendments added to it, which then has to send it back. If it was already got passed in one committee, they now have to reapprove it with that amendment added to it.
Yeah, and so, like, I was complaining at Gloria about it, and so I was trying to, like, I didn't mean to complain about. I wasn't trying to complain about her. I was just complaining at her because she was basically like, let me get the session over with so that I can dedicate some time to come to your show. And I was like, absolutely, that'd be great. But essentially,
did you piss her off?
Well, maybe, I don't know. I was just like, I said, hey, that tweet. This was last week. I said, Gloria, that tweet thread is making the rounds, and I'd love to check in with you soon. I have some openings this week. I'd like to talk a little session review and your upcoming campaign for the new District 90. Let me know. She said, sorry, it's been been insane. Obviously, after session is better. Still only here for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then in Nashville. So she's pretty much booked. And I was like, I'm not mad at all, and I'm media, and I'm not actually considering so I don't. But I see that as a problem. I see the idea that you're in session and you're so busy in session that the general public trying to take an opportunity to understand what's going on and what you're voting on in session, because like we've been back and forth on this 1927. I just pulled that up, Max. I sent you a link. We've been talking about trying to figure out this House Bill 1927.
27.
Right, and so have you heard the whole backstory on this 1927, Max?
No.
So one of our vendors goes to Anthony and he's like, hey, I know you guys have this because we have that thing up in the shop. He's like, I know you guys are trying to pay attention to this stuff, but this one's big for us. You need to check in on it. And they're voting in a subcommittee tomorrow. This was like Tuesday or something of this past week. And so like I go into active mode and I'm trying to figure it out and all this kind of shit. And so and the reason this links into the Gloria bit of the conversation is, she comes back at me. She's like, hey, anytime you need help understanding a bill or whatever, call my office and leave it with my assistant because I finally got one. And she's like, we have a Google Doc. And so anybody calls, my assistant will put in, constituent email address or something like that or phone number and what bill they had a question on. And then like once a week or so, Gloria will sit down and go down that whole thing and figure out what those bills are and what the people are talking about, that kind of thing, and then get back to people. Which I don't know. Because when that other one that we were having issues came up, the one that we made the original paper sign for in the shop for was up, I texted her and it's like, hey, I'm sure you're on board with saying no to this anyway, but for what it's worth, at least a dozen people here in Knoxville that I know and or work for me are not cool. This will damage our business, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, okay, cool, I'll look into it. And so, but that was the last I heard of it on that one. But anyway, one of her things in reply to me was like, hey, I get it. It's there's a lot going on and it's hard to keep up with, but the website's really good if you want to check it out. And I'm like, maybe I'm an idiot, which is very possible. If AC was here, he would say, not maybe, absolutely. But like, so this 1927, this is the one that a vendor was telling us about. You got it pulled up, Max?
I do, and I don't understand. I'm like, I don't know what you click on to actually know what that bill is.
No shit. Exactly. Because as it reads on the thing, it says controlled substances, which would be the subheading or whatever that it goes under in state law, has introduced changes to the date from January 1 to January 15 by which the Medical Cannabis Commission must submit its annual report to the General Assembly. So it's pushing back a report 2 weeks. That's what that reads to me like.
Yes.
But according to, I don't see, this is where it's, I don't know, maybe the guy that sent it to us sent us the wrong thing. Because what I got from Anthony, did he text that to me or did he send it to me? He must have texted it to me. I'll have to share it to myself real quick. It was a whole different thing that's talking about, including hemp-derived THC instead of it just being marijuana-derived THC. And basically banning half the products we sell is what the idea of the bill is. And so, anyway, so now I'm extra confused because I don't think I got the right one from whatever. But either way, this bill doesn't read like anything important to me that we got in front of us. Let me see if I can find the other one that Anthony sent me and see if
I think there was a local news article that was talking about it. And it was basically just saying they would have it, the Delta 8 levels down to what Delta 9 is considered. So everything has to be 0.3% or less.
Right. That's
so it would leave our edibles still an option.
That's what I would think, yeah.
Because that Delta 9 still falls under the federal and the state Delta 9.
Yeah, son of a bitch. Because this ain't right. Because the one he sent me, which also lines up, House Bill 1927, which matches with Senate Bill 1904.
Yeah.
This one, so when I click on fiscal note on the one that we're looking at on the website, it says no significant anything, right?
Yeah.
The copy of the fiscal note that Anthony sent me from our vendor, which is House Bill 1927, Senate Bill 1904, March 17, 2022, it talks about $4.8 billion in state revenue loss from sales tax associated with the sales of products like this.
See, I thought I saw like millions that could or could not be.
I'm sorry, 4.8 million. I'm sorry, I misread. $4.8 million in state revenue lost. $2,900 state increased revenue in incarceration, which really confused me. That it's only $3,000 more in. It's going to add a new thing that we're allowed to put people in jail for, and it's only going to cost $3,000 because one person's going to spend 2 days in jail or whatever that costs. Which again is very confusing. Decreased local and that state impact, decreased local impact of almost $2 million a year, depending on locality. Obviously, that's like an average or whatever. But assumptions for this bill, as amended, the legislation will effectively prohibit the sale of possession of hemp products that contain THC concentrations of more than 0.3% on a dry weight basis. Now, tell me about any of what I just said from this one that I have an email for versus what's on the website. There's nothing.
Well, I did find you could click on some other stuff, but it doesn't really say anything more.
I'm just like I'm baffled by the difference in the things I'm looking at. And so
if you click on that menu thing, there's some summary, votes, amendments, bill history, fiscal notes. Yeah, it doesn't tell us anything.
I just pulled up a video of the subcommittee talking about it.
Yeah. There's Mr. Doggett.
And so apparently Cameron Sexton's on this subcommittee, and so he's one of the people I emailed because that's what our vendor told us to do. And I out-Republicaned the Republican, and if he's a decent Republican, he's should do what I say, but whatever. I sent the email. It's basically, as a Republican, you're supposed to want less government oversight and more personal responsibility. So why would you sign something into law that takes the government to oversee and takes away personal responsibility? So that was my take on that.
What number is it again?
1927. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, so what I'm seeing on the website versus what I got in the email are not the same thing at all.
No.
They both have to do with THC, cannabis, marijuana at some level, but
what's the document that guy sent you? What's its heading?
It's the fiscal note.
It says fiscal note for that? Okay.
And it looks exactly the same, except it says it has its...
So that was on January 24th.
Yeah. This one, the one that he sent, was from March 17th. And I don't know. That says not significant. Mine says pretty significant. Because it goes down into details about how, the census says X number of $1 million a year, $1 billion a year is spent on related items, and state of Tennessee estimates that this many people or this many $1 million a year is generated from direct revenues from businesses like ours that sell these products and blah, 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 blah.
But even then, they're spitballing it. They don't have solid numbers on
that,
so I'm not sure where they're getting those numbers from anyway.
But again, it doesn't matter. Like, especially if you're right now, we're going into We're going to have a sales tax holiday on groceries.
I know there was talk of that. I know they
Yeah,
is it like a 30-day, or they're just going to...
Yeah, 30-day tax-free groceries.
They're going to do it like closer to school starting, or as soon as they can?
Those are right now. It's supposed to be to fight inflation.
Was the talk of it being...
How about a gas tax
having
one?
Lee put it out as an executive order?
Yeah, it's supposed to take place sooner than that.
Yeah, Lee was asked about the a tax break, and he said he wasn't going to do it.
No, I saw it earlier today. He said he's in. Even Gloria said...
Repealing the state gas tax?
Oh, not repealing. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Not gas tax. Yeah, sorry. Yes, the grocery sales tax break is coming, but yeah, I haven't heard anything about a gas tax, no.
I read that, he was asked about it, and he said we're not doing away with the gas tax for now.
Yeah, when you click on the other HB bills, they like say stuff.
Oh yeah.
You know, if you click on a different one, Tennessee Bureau of Investigation has introduced permits and authorized persons. Like it talks about something to do with that. But that one just says it pushes a date back for them to have to report.
Right, which again, that is certainly within the wheelhouse of things that they have to vote on and do things with. That, because of some reason, we're going to let you report 2 weeks later. Okay, cool, thanks. Like that's not out of that's not abnormal. But the idea that there's I'm curious whether our vendors lost his fucking mind and just made some shit up, or where I don't know where this 1927 comes from. Like, it looks legit.
He may just have a more updated version of it. The website just may not be updated yet.
Yeah, but that's like months. That's his version was from like a week ago, where the website's updated to.
It's usually pretty fast. So you can go on there and find videos of things that happened the day or two prior. Mm-hmm. You may have found a chink in the armor.
Maybe I just found the one special one, and I just look like an extra idiot in front of Gloria because I found the one that's all fucked up.
Well, I'm going down all the bills that are up right now to see if there's anything that says there's stuff on ammo, there's stuff on all sorts of stuff.
So think about it this way, though. The session is 2 years. Or legislative session is 2 years. The Blue Book comes out every 2 years, blah, 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 blah. This state house, so House bill and Senate bill, because their, I don't know, whatever kind of word you want to call it, but their term year, their term is 2 years for House members. The Senate members are 4 years, but the functional term of the body is 2 years, right? So the 2021 and 2022 session are one cycle for state government. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's 1,927 bills went through that house in that time period. It's more than that, obviously.
Yeah.
But this one that we're talking about happens to be 1927. I don't know what the total number is. You're looking at the list there, Max. What's the highest number you can find in HBs? It's over 2,000.
Yeah, 27. I don't know. I'm reading one. I just read one on Vapor. Criminal offense amends whatever. Creates a Class C misdemeanor for a person who has not attained 21 years of age to consume or possess vapor products on public school property that serves any of the grades kindergarten through 12th. That's
so if you're a 20-year-old
2563.
If you're a 20-year-old teaching assistant and get caught with vape, you get a Class C misdemeanor.
Class C misdemeanor.
Because you're not an adult yet. Can't make your own decisions.
Aggravated offense, sexual assault, prostitution.
But what's the highest number?
I don't know. They're not in order.
No, that's of course not.
27.99.
Anyway, thousands. It's 27. So we're talking thousands.
This one I'm looking at right is 27.99.
And we did have a special session this year, which is going to add a handful because they squeezed that special session in back in the fall.
I wonder.
We had two. We had 21. We had special session in 21 because of COVID stuff. So this session should have a little bit more total bulk because of the extra special sessions called.
I wonder if bills that get rolled over from one session to the next, if they automatically get renumbered.
Keep their number or not? That's a good question. That's a good question. But
Let's
either
go
way,
into the next session, maybe it gets renumbered.
just for the sake of conversation, we're talking 1,000+ bills a year
Right.
that we're going through. 1,000+ changes to law every year. That's fucking crazy. And and realistically, they do that in 3 months. And then they go into campaign cycle for the rest of the year, whether it's a campaign year or not. But, essentially they do that by early April.
So, I mean, some of the things are just simply updating old laws, but they have to codify them.
But how is there a chance in hell of real public scrutiny when you're looking at 250 bills a month, if they were to spread them equally over the session period, 250 bills a month, that anybody has the time or energy to look over and actually put a public discussion into place and put that out to their constituency and get back? And I mean, fuck this, forget the elected official side, just me and you. Like, if we wanted to actually track this shit and be able to to turn this show into a checkpoint where people can listen in, like, think about the amount of content it would take us to have an episode per House bill. Like, this is the House bill that hit the floor. This is what it means. This is what they're going to do. Like, think of the amount of time and energy and content that we would have to do to try to do that.
Right.
It's fucking maddening, let alone getting people to pay attention to it and put in effort. And that's really the problem, is that people are just going to not pay attention like they never do, whether there's somebody putting out the effort to show them what's going on or not. But at the end of the day, that's the idea that there's that much going on, that I can't get a sit down with Gloria in the middle of the session because she's too busy to ask her questions about what's going on in session. That I can't get Eddie Manis and be like, hey man, come sit with me for an hour and let's talk about your session this year. Let's talk about what's going on. Some of the important things you've passed, some of the things you haven't passed. Tell me what you think about this one. I mean, realistically, hey, Eddie, explain 1927 to me. He doesn't fucking know. How could he? And he's there, and he's got to vote on it. It's ridiculous. How do we call this a functioning government when nobody knows what they're doing? They're just voting with whatever the team tells them to. This is the problem to me. I don't know if you see me getting excited. I mean, Sam does. He's looking at me.
I can see you're getting angry.
I'm not angry. I'm excited by it.
You're excited by it.
I think it's a problem. I think that it is a problem that idiots like me are the ones that are screaming and pissing a fit about it, and that I feel like I feel like as I'm saying it, I know I'm wasting my breath.
I mean, are you mad because you want to say on each one of these bills?
Yeah, that'd be part of it. Sure. I would like to.
These meetings are open to the public. I mean, I know you have multiple jobs that you do on a day-to-day basis.
Because that's an option for me.
Just saying.
But I mean, that's how our government should work. That you have to be in it to be able to understand it.
Well, I'm saying there's an avenue to put your 2 cents in on issues that I think you get 3 minutes. I think if you request essentially an audience to be in the committee, I think you're allotted. And
when I get Constance in here to do a show about her governorship run, I'll ask her what it's like to be the person that shows up at every meeting to talk and how they treat you after you've been to about 15, 20 of them. Because I'm going to guess when you become that person in meetings, everybody turns off when you come up to talk.
That's where it takes a little bit of diplomacy. If you want to get your voice heard, I mean, you have to kind of talk in the right tone. If you want to want somebody to do something if you want to get somebody to do something, you don't yell at them, because that's not going to get them to do it, is it?
I don't know. Maybe. Depends.
All right. This is something different, though. I'm reading every single bill.
He's going down the rabbit hole.
Well, actually, to be fair, he's the one that doesn't have... You do have time, Max. You could be the guy that does all this for me.
I've tried before.
1493. Drug synthetic... 1493. Drug synthetic or analog. Let's introduce ads as required for sale. Introduce ads as required for sale of kratom. The state only be made by retailers and sold only in packaging of 5 ounces to 7 ounces. Violation is a Class A misdemeanor.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to catch up here. Less than or more than. So you can sell 6 ounces
in packages of 5 ounces to 7 ounces.
Right. Right. July 1, 2021. This was last session. Or first half of this session. I don't know if it passed or not.
Yeah, but I think if you go back to the previous screen where it shows you all the different movements, I thought some of those said this year.
But this is one of the confusing parts about it, which is why we need somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Those are the only two HBs that I see in the list of the 51 that have anything to do with us.
Oh, so okay, it got written last first half of the session, but it is in criminal subcommittee right now.
Yeah, which that doesn't affect us. We don't sell. I don't know how big that bag is.
Similar, nice.
I mean, to me, what it reads to me is it has to be. It's 6 ounces or 5.001 ounces to 6.999 ounces is the allowable retail.
5 to 7 ounces. That's what it says. It says 5 to 7.
Right. It says less than 5 and more than 7. Yeah, you're right. 5 to 7. Shut up.
It's not 5.01 to 6.99.
Whatever. But both of mine are in legal limits, so shut your face. There will not be, fiscal note says there will not be a substantial enough number of non-retailers selling or retailers selling in packaging not between 5 and 7 ounces to result in a significant increase in state or local governments tax, whatever. I don't know what that means, because that's one of those that is, when you read it, that's literally that it's going to insert this text into Tennessee Code annotated section 3917A3A. And so what we need to do to understand this is go find Tennessee Code annotated section 3917.452A3A. I mean, that's what we have to do to make this make sense. That's my point is, okay, yeah, it's all here, but I have to have access to code, and then I have to go and because what this one reads to me is that this one will add the following as new subdivisions. So it's on top of the things that are already in place. So XYZ is in place now. XYZ plus this A.1 is the new subdivision of XYZ that's already in place.
Right, it's probably
like it says
a current bill.
You could sell less than 5 ounces, and now they're adding 5 to 7 ounces.
Or it didn't say anything.
Then it would be under 7 ounces.
Right, or it didn't say anything about the size of packaging you could sell before, and now it's putting a description on it. So it's saying you could sell, raw kratom, non-synthetic, powder format, blah 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 blah, in retailers with XYZ as your obligations to do and getting all that stuff, and now you have to do it in this size packaging. Moral of the story is this website's not that easy.
No, I remember at the end of the last session, I was seeing if I could find if there was any kind of list of just. I think we were trying to find like whatever bills had gone through in the previous session. So I think it was before you were going to interview Massey.
Yeah, and she sent me one.
Right, because I think when you go through this website, I think you can look through essentially almost the entire history of House and Senate bills.
Right, which doesn't help though when I'm trying to figure out exactly what's happening.
Right, what went through on this session. Right.
Because really, I mean, what it comes down to is New Sentinel WBAR. They'll do their mid-June. Hey, this is what's going into effect into law on July 1st.
But it's not all. They'll do.
They don't do everything.
Kind of the major ones,
right? Yeah. They do the big ones. They do the ones that they think are the big ones,
right?
But again, the whole point of this whole subsect of this conversation was, I think it's a problem that we just sat here and fumbled around just for kicks and shits and giggles or whatever, and we still don't understand what we're talking about. Because as much as this kratom bill that we were talking about, clarifying 5 to 7 ounces or whatever, I don't know what's on top of that. It's going to take a lot of energy and effort, which I understand. I don't disagree that it should take some energy and effort. But the realism is that if I called in Massey, or not Massey, well, yeah, I guess call in Massey and ask her about 1390. If I call in Manus and ask him about its subsequent 1493 or whatever number it is that we were talking about, I call in whatever, I call in all these people, they don't know it, and they've already been voting on it. Or they are about to vote on it, and they're going to get their little sub notes from one of their assistants or however it goes, all that kind of stuff. And so how am I supposed to engage with my elected representative, Manis, if he doesn't know what I'm talking about? Because I know more than him.
It may not be going through his committee.
Because he's not on the criminal justice subcommittee.
Right.
But it will be on the floor at some point if the subcommittee takes it out. And again, I get it. Why was he going to waste his time and energy trying to figure out a thing that may not even make it to his plate? Because
usually they don't get a draft of it until it goes through certain committees.
Right. But the problem is it's such a small window of time that when it does come out of subcommittee, it quickly gets onto the floor, and I have a tiny window of time to try to get an audience with Manis to talk to him about it, if it's something that's important to me. And if I talk to him about it too soon, it's not on his desk because it's still in subcommittee, and he might not have to look at it anyway, so he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He just has more important things to do with his time. I respect that.
Well, how often is this, though? Like, it says SB 1390 by Nicely.
Right.
If you ask Nicely, hey, tell me about 1390.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Is he going to be like, it's something to do with Kratom or whatever? Wait, this says it's by you. Shouldn't you know what this is? How often do they not even know what they're putting their name on?
Well, he's not the spy. He's not the. Well, I don't know if because it says on the Senate bill side of it that there was a sponsor change, so he might have taken his name off of it at this point. But that's another one too.
They're generally more knowledgeable on it. I've seen a couple where they've asked, the sponsor of the bill, like, well, why are we bringing this bill? And sometimes it's just like, well, I've had constituents that raise this concern to me.
Right.
So it's not really something they wanted to, but there's constituents came through with this issue. If
that's true, I'm cool with
it. There's
a
local one about a meat processing plant like Strawberry Plains. And I think the guy that brought it up, essentially, he doesn't have as much to do with it. I think his daughter stands to possibly benefit from it, but he brought it forth because his local constituents apparently were having issues trying to get their cows and whatnot processed.
I agree with you that there's more people that probably know, but I wonder what the percentage of these people that don't even know that. Right.
Hey,
you need to put this bill up.
That was messy with the police drone bill. KPD asked her to do it. KPD wrote it and handed it to her, and KPD asked, and she said, "You're the largest police department in my district, so sure, I'll do whatever you guys need me to." Which again, I mean, I guess that's her job, sort of. I don't know. Does KPD have more right to ask for things than I do? Because they're a bigger organization?
No, but it gives them weight, quote unquote.
Right. I mean,
because they're a larger group of constituents.
And theoretically, they're coworkers because they are employees.
Just the same if you got 4 or 5 subdivisions to group together as West Knoxville group. If you have that whole group that comes to them, they're going to see that as a large chunk of constituents.
Right, because it's an electability issue. I mean, whether it's a real election threat or not, it's still an election threat on some level. Right. When I come and say, hey, you shouldn't vote for this, that's a problem. And it's just me. Well, that's one voter I might not get next time.
Right.
But when I come with 1,000 people and say, hey, we don't think you should do this, that's 1,000 votes that I might not get if I don't, or if I do what they're telling me not to do.
Right.
And I get that. I don't know. Like I said, it's I just don't know how we are supposed, because the complaint always, I mean, this has been the complaint the further I've got into this, the more, we are uneducated voters. We are. But how are we supposed to get more educated in a system that's set like this? When we can't engage realistically, because we have jobs, and because we have lives, and because we have other things to do. Even those of us that are interested and want to pay attention and want to figure out what the fuck's going on, it's a struggle to do it. I'm actually talking to these people regularly, and I still don't know what's going on. I still don't have a fucking clue on how the school funding thing's going. I have no fucking idea.
Are you talking on the vouchers?
I mean, sorta. It's not even the voucher part yet. It's pre-voucher. It's the new funding formula that they're going
TISA or something. TISA or.
There's a name I've watched videos and stuff.
It's not the BEP program anymore.
Right, they're getting rid of BEP, which is ridiculous. But again, the layman's reading and the public relations and their PR videos that the State Board of Education has put out, I'm digging on it. It follows to me and makes sense. But it's very big and complicated, and this very simplified version sounds great. But, Jennifer Owens sitting here screaming no, it is nothing like what they're making it sound like. And then I talked to, who else did I talk to? I talked to somebody else at the school where they're like, I can't remember. I was like, what's going on with this new funding thing? And their answer is we don't know, and we have the best people at the central office trying to figure out what this actually means. It's like they're voting on this is getting passed, and Massey and Manis and Gloria and all them are voting on this, and people that actually know how school funding works locally don't know what this means, but our reps are voting on it. They don't know what it means either. Then.
It's the same thing when they have the stuff that we vote for, like, whatever on the election thing, and you're like, I don't even know what this means, what I should vote for. Like, yes or no, and you're like, this is not even telling me anything what this is. But I mean, like the last election we had, there was something stupid on there that was like, how you read it, it seemed like a yes was.
Yeah, that was the law director thing. That was 2 years ago. That was the 2020 one.
Yeah.
Right.
Which was just fucking confusing.
Which, in hindsight, I changed my opinion on that.
What, that it should not be elected?
No, I don't think he should be elected. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. Like, the more I think about it, the less sense it makes. If you break it down, like, what is the job of an attorney? Any lawyer on any level. What is their job?
To represent.
Interpret the law.
No.
Right. No. That's the judge's job, is to interpret the law. A lawyer is supposed to represent me or you, or they're supposed to represent whoever they're representing to the best of their abilities.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's
right?
what you're saying.
So, definitionally, the law director in Knox County is supposed to represent the government of Knox County and all the little subdivisions thereof. So, the law director of Knox County is supposed to represent the mayor's office, county commission, school board, sheriff's office. Those are the big ones. All the little bits and bobs in between. What happens if commission and school board are having issues? And they're fighting with each other and threatening lawsuits against each other. The law director and his office is supposed to both represent the school board and the commission when they are both plaintiff and defendant in a case.
So where are you going with this, being elected or not elected?
The elected part, that's its own problem. You're right. That doesn't have to do with the elected part. The elected part has to do with, well, me and you are the boss, per se, because we hire this person as the electorate, right? Well, who does he work for? Does he work for me and you, the electorate, or does he work for the mayor's office? Who does he answer to? His job is to do the best he can for his client, so what he should be doing is whatever Mayor Jacobs asked him to do, or whatever the commission asked him to do, or whatever the school board asked him to do. So this whole mess with the mask thing and the lawsuit and all the craziness and the school board not pitching a fit because we still had the mask forever and now the mask are finally off and blah, 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 and all the complaints about the law director's office not doing what people thought they could be doing to try to change the situation. Maybe realistically on the legal conversation of things, the law director's office couldn't do shit. If that's the case, he should have been out there telling everybody, I can't do anything else. And that's not the conversation I heard.
So on what you're talking about is, if we have with the mayor is everyone needs to wear masks. Everyone has to wear masks all the time, which go with your mask thing, right?
Yeah.
But 90% of Knoxville is like, we don't want to wear masks anymore. Well, he works for Mayor Jacobs, so he's got to follow Mayor Jacobs. If he was elected, then
right,
he
but
would be going with the people.
True, but he can't go to me and you, and the elected official who actually would be the one who should be responding to that 90% of the body would be the sheriff's office, who is the one that has to execute the law. And that's why the sheriff's office is elected. And so to say that maybe the mayor's office does get off its rocker and does something weird and puts some law into place is definitionally the law director's office. If Jacob says we're wearing masks all the time, it's the law director's office to find the existing law and statute and stuff like that to support the decision of the mayor's office. It's not, he doesn't get to pick or choose or say, Mr. Mayor, this is legal or not legal. He says, I will do everything I can to make sure this is legally accurate, or I'll find the way to make this legally accurate for you if it's possible. That would be his job. It's the sheriff's job to say, hey, I don't agree that that's legal. And then the mayor and the sheriff can fight it out in the court of public opinion and stuff like that. But the sheriff is the elected one who's, in that case, would be defending us, the populace, that says, no, we don't want to do this. Because his election's on the line, too.
I see what you're saying. I don't remember my opinion on him being elected or not being elected.
At the time, I was like, no, I want to elect as many people as possible. I want people to answer to me.
You want to vote on your 5th grade teacher for your
son. The street sweeper is my favorite punchline joke was I would vote for street sweeper if it was an option. But I mean, realistically though, I think the more I think about it, because I've changed opinion on a bunch of these, honestly. I mean, I don't think the clerk should I don't think the county clerk or the trustees should be elected. I don't even know I don't even understand what their job is, so maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll take that one back. I'm not sure that those should be elected positions. I don't think the judges should be elected positions. That's for sure.
I don't know why the person that decides the new license plate that comes out is an elected position.
Well, that's the governor, and that was the governor that got the new license plate.
I thought it was the county clerk that dealt with.
No, their job is to distribute them. They have nothing to do with the selection of the plates.
Oh, that's even worse.
Yeah, they don't.
So they don't even. They just. Why is that an elected position?
I don't know. It just is. You know, I honestly, I mean, it's not in Knox County right now, at least, because nobody's running against Current. So it's technically it's not elected this year. But I mean, again, the trustee, the county clerk is such a narrow window of what they can and can't do. It's so clearly defined by the state. I don't know what the actual election part does. I don't know that it makes a difference if I do the job or you do the job, or Jim does the job or Bob does the job, or Sherry Witt, who is currently doing the job, does the job. I'm not saying she's not great.
I really wonder if you put your name on the ballot for county clerk next time it comes up and do absolutely nothing.
Right, we've talked about this. I agree.
What percent? How much of the vote do you think you would get?
Well, she's going to term out, so
there's many unopposed races that go through.
I mean, there's a handful in the judges' races this year. There's not that many, really, with as many races
I'm just wondering,
just in general,
how dumb our voters are.
I mean,
would you poll 30% of the vote?
I think that I think that we talked about it before. I'm scared to death to think that you would actually do better because you're clearly a dude's name and she's clearly a girl's name. It saddens me to say but I can't help but think that's probably true.
Yeah. Just have a sign that says county clerk,
dude.
Marine.
Dude, it's a dude.
It would just be Marine.
Right.
Just put Marine and you gotta vote for the Marine. That's all you gotta do.
I mean,
how many people would?
I think you do okay.
And that's sad if that's true.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
You take it another level is you would run as a Republican because it makes more sense to you, and strategically it makes more sense, and blah 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 blah. And so it'd be a primary, and you'd honestly you'd lose then. Because I don't know, maybe I've been thinking about this because I was talking to Alistair from the Angry Atheist podcast that I listen to. And she texts me out of nowhere. She's like, "Hey, do you have to interview both sides of a candidate or both sides of a seat or whatever?" It's like, no, I can interview whoever the fuck I want. No obligation. I want to interview everybody because I'm a dork and I want to interview everybody. But if you just want to take all the Democrats and talk to them, or Republicans or whatever you want, you can talk to whoever you want. But we were going back and forth about a couple of different things, just kind of chatting. And I was like, the more I thought about it, I was like, if you want to know who's actually, how many people in Knox County are actually politically active that pay attention, just count primary. Count about 80% of the primary. Anything past that in total votes, those people don't have a fucking clue what they're talking about or what they're looking at. I'd say about 80% of the primary, which, if we go back to the city races, is pathetic, are people that are actually informed about what they're looking at. Those are, I mean, to me, I would assuming that those are the people that'll go out and door knock and shit, and are functionally politically active. Especially if you're going to pull a Democratic primary. But and again, I'll say this, it doesn't matter for you, Max, you're going to pull a Republican primary anyway. But if you weren't already planning on pulling a Republican primary, you were pulling a Republican primary. If you were in District 7 in Knox County, you have to pull a Republican primary or you're a moron.
Not if you're a Democrat and you want to run for office one day.
Yes, that's true. But you're still a moron. And honestly, you're still a moron because the Democrats don't care. They won't. I mean, Dylan Early, who's probably one of the most likely to take a real run in county commission as a Democrat was a Republican. He's only 28 years old. Like, he was an active Republican Party member, I think, Hamlin County before he moved to Knoxville. Like, he was on the roster of, like, Republicans. Like, it's, again, we're Tennessee, so you don't have to register, but he was on the roster of, like, the Republican Party activist team or whatever in Hamlin County until Trump came along and he quit. And so he does not have a bona fide Democrat record. But it only matters if somebody complains and the party says, you know what, you're right. And
so is he running as a Democrat just to run so he can get elected?
Kind of. No. I mean, no, because you're running in Knox County. You're running because he's running in at large. So he's running countywide. You don't run as a Democrat if you want to win in county at large. To be fair, like, he could run as a Republican and probably get away with it, and he has a better chance of winning because of that. He just hates Larson J. It's going to be an interesting race, honestly, because Larson J's a Democrat, not really, but he did donate some money to Obama or some shit like that. Has Muslim backers. It's weirdness. There's some weird. All the shit files are starting to come out.
Oh no.
He's got Muslim backers.
But then Steve Weiner had a hate piece come out, and I can't remember. I meant to take. Did I send it to you?
I don't think so.
I meant to send it to the group or one of you guys just so I could remember to do it. But Steve Weiner had a hate piece, and somebody was like, somebody said they were going to write in Justin Biggs for the seat, and I was like, write in Peyton Manning if you're going to waste your fucking time. And God, who was that? That's going to drive me nuts.
So you said something to me last week. You're like, it's just a reminder.
But yeah, it was just like because it's a weird spot because Larson's getting painted as basically a Democrat anyway. I think Larson's going to keep his seat personally, but we'll see.
That's what you sent me as a reminder.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. I will come back to that. The Knox County Conservative Coalition Facebook page. There's this lovely Photoshop picture of Steve Weiner.
Who's Steve Weiner?
Steve Weiner's running for at large 10 or 11. I don't remember. One of the two. Okay. He's running against Larson and Dillon. And so it says, why does Steve Weiner claim to be a conservative when he voted as a Democrat? And he has a picture of his voter history. And he pulled the Democratic primary once. In 2006, it looks like. Don't be fooled by fake politicians who will lie to just win your vote. And this is against Larson, who is already painted as a rhino at best. He's not really a Republican anyway. He's the only commissioner that Dasha and Courtney Durrett like, and he's only good friend. Like it's just like, I don't know. The bullshit's already started in the ridiculousness.
What's Biggs? So they're going to write in Biggs,
right? So yeah, the Knox County Conservative Commission said, bad news.
Isn't he running for trustee or something?
Right. And Martin Daniel's not running at all. And I said my joke to advertise us was write us in if you're it's going to be just as worthless. Just write us in. And he says he voted for Pat Buchanan 4 times. Don't think I won't do it. And I was like, I'm just commenting on how pointless the write-in is. You're not. I don't know what that means. Again, you're super conservative, and Steve Weiner's not conservative enough for you. Fine. I'm not telling you who you should vote for, but I mean, for fuck's sake.
I don't get the sheep. They put him in a sheep outfit.
I don't know.
Just one more dig. Let's not just put his face up there. Let's put him in a sheep outfit.
Right.
Because you're not.
Right, so yeah,
not conservatives or sheep.
Whomever the author is here thinks that, then this is the joke of the politics to me is like, so whoever the author is here, in their mind, Larson J, who's running as a Republican, who is an incumbent Republican for that matter, is not really a Republican. He's a Democrat. Dylan Early, who was a Republican, and honestly, talking to him, I could still see him being sold as a Republican and getting away with it pretty easily. He's not a Republican because he has a D next to his name, so I can't vote for him. Well, Steve Weiner voted for a Democrat one time. Can't vote for him. I'm going to write in somebody who has no chance of winning because they're running for a different seat and won't apply for the write-in paperwork anyway. So let me just throw my vote away because none of the people hit my standard. And I agree with him because the standard sucks. But it's a ridiculous standard at the same time. I mean, you're talking about, like, how many people actually hit your standard?
I was kind of wondering that as well. I don't know what their parameters are on whatever it is they're looking for.
Right. Like, part of me is like, why aren't you running? You should be running if nobody's good enough.
You're not conservative enough. You want to call out Republicans as rhinos.
Right. And Steve, like Steve on the show here, when he came on the show here, his whole thing was, I'm running because Larson is not a Republican. He's not a conservative. I am. Like, that's his, like, both, like, that's what's crazy to me. Both Dylan and Steven in this race are only running because they don't like Larson. Larson isn't left enough. Larson isn't right enough. I'm running because Larson isn't left enough, and I'm more left than Larson. I'm running because Larson isn't right enough. I'm righter. I'm more right than Larson is. That's why I'm running. Which, to me, I hope Larson wins, because if he's actually a centrist that makes some logical sense, which I thought he was a cool dude, and I like talking to Larson. I don't know if I'm going to vote for him or not. I'm still making up my mind, but at the end of the day, a centrist is where it's at. To me, it's better than this fucking, he's got to never talk to a Democrat ever, or he's the worst fucking thing in the world.
What's his stance on the shortage of pool chemicals? Do you know that?
That's a good question. We need to get somebody on that.
I was getting my pool chemicals this week, and they didn't have any shock because it's still not fucking warm enough to set my pool to salt water.
We had a Clorox.
And the lady was like, I was like, are you guys out of shock? And she's like, oh, no. We keep it in the back. We only sell it to our regular customers. She's like, because there's a shortage on pool chemicals right now. And I was like, why is nobody talking about that?
Right, these are important things.
Why is that not a big debate?
And I mean, I don't know what the chemical makeup is, but apparently, like, huge amounts of, like, commonly used fertilizers for, like, large scale agriculture come out of Ukraine and Russia.
Yeah.
Like peat, something peat.
Is this like the most boringest war though we've ever had?
I mean, it's probably not boring if you're in Ukraine right now.
It is not, but like they're like, oh, there's tanks everywhere. Like, oh, they're on the edge of Kiev or whatever.
I mean,
and then next thing you know, it's like 14 days later, they're like, they're still on the edge of Kiev. I was like,
I don't know.
Jesus.
I don't know. I to pull an AC out, you need to find boring, because like to be fair, all right. So the whole thing, like one of the bases for the stupid entertainment argument that I've had for 20 years with AC, one of the bases is scary movies. Like, why do we like scary movies? Well, if you like scary movies, if you like to be afraid, what's going on in Ukraine right now is fucking scary. So I wouldn't think that would be boring.
Well, I'm just saying it doesn't seem like if you watch the news today or you watched it 2 weeks ago, it seems like it's the same news.
To me, it's because the narrative's been written. The narrative was written before it started. Anything that makes Russia look bad is good. And we're going to tell you about Russia looking bad. Anything about Ukraine that's good, we're going to tell you how great Ukraine is. We're going to tell you how bad Russia is. We're not going to tell you about a Russian win because we don't want to support the Russian system. We're not going to tell you about a Ukrainian loss unless it sells how terrible the Russians are.
Well, I mean, it's like what is it? Like World War I, where no man's land, where they had the trenches.
Right.
And then for like months and months, they just sat across each other and randomly pop shots at each other. I mean, I would just figured by now, Russia would have either rolled over Ukraine or Ukraine would have defended them out of the place. I don't know. I don't know much about, like you said, the media we get. And who knows exactly what's happening.
I think realistically, I think the argument at play here is that I don't think Putin expected as much pushback from the Ukrainians as he's getting. I don't think he expected the world to respond the way the world did either. I don't think he expected to have an entire economic issue to the level it is to go along with it. I think he assumed that business would do what business does, and he might catch a little bit of flack or whatever, but he wasn't going to get completely shut out of the world market the way he is in all sorts of weirdness. And it's a fucking weird thing going on too, because like Germany and Poland and all them are still buying gas. He's trying to get him to make him buy gas in rubles right now, which is an interesting play because he needs to.
Saw that.
I mean, he needs to prop the ruble up to keep the ruble value up, which I get it. But I mean, it's a weird ass spot where it's like Germany and Poland and the Czech Republic and all these other UN and NATO countries are signing off on these crazy sanctions and trying to do what they can because this is a big scary moment for them, which obviously it is. But hey, can we still buy some gas, bro? I need some of that gas.
Can we send some gas?
You know, it's like, how do you, like, I don't know. This is something that I think the U.S. has problems with on a lot of levels. Like, this is one of the issues with us in China. If we ever got into hot war with China, it'd be the same kind of weird deal. Like, can you still send us some, like, video games and shit?
Yeah.
Like, we need our electronics to put in our jets to go bomb you with.
Hey, we need our vape stuff.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm just saying, like, seriously, like, that's the situation we've found ourselves in, which I guess is a good thing, and that we have such a world market that we can't have a complete cutoff from our biggest enemies because we need them to keep our economies rolling. And it's a weird spot we put ourselves in, and it's a weird spot that Germany and Poland and most of Europe's in because they need Russian gas to function. But they also want to stop them from doing this terrible thing, and they're no, like, I don't want to support you invading Ukraine, but I have to have gas from you. What do I do?
I got to put something in my BMW.
Yeah, good choice of car. But I mean, I don't know. I get what you're saying, and I guess part of it too is that we're not in it officially. Is why it's not as exciting.
Did you see the like we sent over like a bunch of weapons and stuff to Ukraine or whatever?
All right, let me be saying real quick. Did we sell them or did we give them?
We gave them. I guarantee we gave them to Ukraine.
You guaranteeing means nothing, sir. I want to know whether they did or didn't.
Yeah, it was on a... Well, okay. It was the... What's her name? Pulaski? Who's the redheaded?
Pulaski?
Saki? Jen Psaki? Talking about the press secretary?
Yeah, the redhead.
Is it Jen Psaki? What's Pulaski? Pulaski sold... I totally believe when you said Pulaski. Anyway, go ahead.
What is her name?
Saki.
Yeah. Is it Saki? Really?
Rice wine, bitches.
That's it. It starts with a P, but I believe it's pronounced
Saki. Yeah, that's
okay. I was like, I could have sworn it started with a P. Yeah. Anyway, they were talking about all the what they said is what they sent over. They sent over so much of this and so much of that, and the White House said it was defense weapons. And one of the, of course, like probably Fox or whatever was like, "You're saying these are defense weapons?" Well, yeah, these are weapons of defense. They're not. They can't be used as offensive weapons. She's like, these are for farmers and people to defend their stuff. The guy kept on pressing her. Said these weapons are not offensive weapons. You can't like. It was making it. Huh?
When was this?
I mean, this has been. That's all we. That's all we've sent. Like that's been the statement when we send weapons over. It's always defensive capabilities.
Which is the whole thing. I mean, it's a jab on the White House saying that we need to ban guns because guns are just for killing and they're offensive weapons. That was the point that they were trying to make.
I was trying to figure out how you're going to turn this into a pro 2A statement. Okay, I get it.
And it was like, so these are just there's defensive weapons,
right? Because I want a rocket launcher. It's a defensive weapon. I want a tank too because tanks are defensive weapon.
Yeah, defend my property.
I think I should be able to own a tank. Apparently, some billionaire American that owns a MiG was like, it wouldn't be worth sending them a MiG anyway.
Yeah,
they just get shot down.
You can own a tank.
You just can't own one that has a gun that works.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a special license you can get.
Probably.
So, like at the gun store, I was at the gun store buying some ammo.
Buying some tanks, sweet. Did you get us a tank? Do we have an eBay tank? That's fucking awesome.
Buy one, get one free.
Yeah. He had a whole case of suppressors.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, hey, you guys sell suppressors? He's like, yeah. I was like, you got to have like a special license? He's like, oh, yeah, you got a special license for that. And I was like, well, cool. How do I go about that? He's like, oh, it's like a 2-year waiting list. It's a couple $1,000, blah, blah. I was like, man, you're not selling your shit very well. First thing I thought, like, you're talking me down from this. Instead of being positive.
You're supposed to tell me that after I give you the money. And they're like, right. Oh, yeah, and you need to
put the deposit in and I'll get you the paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I was like,
Paperwork's easy.
Man,
I'll fill it out for
all
you.
these different suppressors. And he was just like, oh, yeah, it's very, very complicated. And I'm like, well, so you don't want to sell me one?
I mean, to be honest, he might not. Honestly, he might not want to sell you one because he has a bunch of paperwork to do with it. And it might be just one of those that's exciting, and people look at it and go, "Oh," and then they go buy regular shit.
You can't do that. You can't do it at the place. So I was like, "Is that something you can do here?" He's like, "No, you got to do it on your own." And he's like, "There's like a year waiting list. And there's all sorts of background checks and stuff. And then once you have that license, then you can go in there and be like, here's my license and buy it."
Right, but my point is for the shop, it's like the giant cigar Indians of the corner stores of the past. It's just a marketing ploy. It's something to get you in there to get excited and look at, and then you buy the other shit that's actually there.
Well, they need to put it in the front of the store and not in the back of the store then.
I don't know. I'm throwing ideas out. I don't know why they're doing it. Maybe the margin sucks.
They can't sell them until you actually put in that paperwork. So maybe they put it out there. And you're like, oh, how do I get one of those? It's like, well, you just need to fill out this paperwork. And as soon as you get that response letter back, bring it back into us.
Please don't be a douche and buy one of these. I really don't want to sell you one of these. God damn it. Please don't be a douche. Don't do the fucking paperwork.
I mean, it sounds like they can't hand it over until you come back with that separate license to have it.
Oh, absolutely.
That approval or whatever.
I think the guy was like talking me out of wanting
what
to
he should have been saying is like, yeah, the paperwork's easy. It takes a little bit of time. It's not too bad though. You could do it. I get what you're saying.
You know, you want to sell that thing eventually.
Right. I don't know. Maybe it's in the back of the store, so you have to walk through the entire store to find it.
Maybe
and then you walk by that. You walk by that really, really nice holster that you don't really need, but you know, everybody needs another holster, right?
I mean, I've got some duct tape. I got a buddy that showed me how to make one.
Right, with duct tape and cardboard?
Yes.
Maybe he was waiting for you to be like, here's my friend Mr. Benjamin. You let me know when I need to stop.
Yes. It's nice that the gun stores have ammo now, though.
Yeah, I've been needing to go.
See, I heard there was like possibly going to be a shortage on it because there was a lot of guns and ammo because there was a lot of American companies, ammo and gun producers that were sending not necessarily their overstock but trying to send some weapons over to Ukraine as well. Yeah,
I would.
Not sell shit off. They were trying to send it over to Ukraine.
Right. To sell.
I bought a box of Colt 45. And I don't even have a gun that can shoot that.
Oh, I love it.
And now I got to go buy another gun.
Well, you got to get a gun to shoot it. So,
yeah. Well, I've wanted a Henry's mare's leg for like 3 years, and every time I'll see a store that has them, they're like no Colt 40, long Colt. Not really Colt 45, long Colt. They don't have it, and I'm like, well, I don't want to buy a gun that I can't get ammo for. And so they've been like out for the last 2 years.
I did. I sort of did. I bought my 9mm and had to buy a fucking case of ammo because that was the smallest package they had. That's the smallest amount they had available. But it's a 9mm, so I got to say, did I break that? Am I admitting to a crime right now? I could buy like that. I could sell ammo to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure I wasn't admitting to a crime on tape.
No, you can sell ammo and guns in Tennessee.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then as soon as I started to say it out loud, I was like, maybe I shouldn't say that out loud.
I don't know. Maybe California, you have to like
go to a gun store,
sell ammo or something like that. I mean, there's certain states that you have to.
Texas.
There was a bill that was trying to go through Tennessee that required private sales to go through a gun shop, which kind of messed up. Because you have to pay the gun shop to run a background check.
Right. Well, because that goes into one of those, like we had this conversation before, and it's one of those things that I go back and forth with AC on a lot. And I'm still trying to figure out how to particularly articulate. It's like, I get the idea that I don't trust my neighbors. I don't think that they're going to do the right thing. I think given the opportunity, they're going to do the wrong thing. And that the idea that the state is the one that can help me protect from the neighbor or whatever. But I don't necessarily think that it's something that should apply to me. This being the example. Like, I don't think... I have zero qualms with the idea of me buying or selling a gun from either one of you. I don't think there's a problem with that. Why would I have to do any extra paperwork with that? Why does it matter? But my neighbor down the street selling a gun to one of his buddies, I don't know if I'm okay with that. Like, that's a standard response. I'm not saying this is official, like, actual real story kind of thing. But this is kind of the premise that keeps coming up in this kind of conversation. It's not necessarily always about guns. It's about a lot of government stuff to me. Is that, for me, when I look at something like this, I don't feel like it's a big deal if I do X, Y, or Z. I, like, you know, again, I'll throw AC under the bus because he's not here. Speed limits do not apply to AC. All of us have been in the car with him.
Mm-hmm.
Speed limits don't apply to him. He doesn't feel like it's necessary for him to follow the speed limit. But if you talk to him about it and you ask him about it, he would argue that somebody else needs to follow the speed limit because they're not as good a driver as me. And it's like, where do you get that? Like, where does it come in your head? Like, I get the idea that you have, like, I can't remember who said it. It was like Muhammad Ali. Somebody, like, you know, somebody with like classic quotes that go around a lot is that you're always the hero in your autobiography. Like, if you're writing your own story, you're always going to be the hero. You're never going to write yourself as the villain. You know, like, I mean, arguably Hitler in his head, as crazy as he was doing what he thought was right. He didn't think he was being a bad guy. He thought he was doing the thing to bring about the thing that would be the best for the world. Might be totally fucking crazy doing it, but in his head, he was the hero of the story he was writing. And we all work that way. And some people work that way fucking crazy like Hitler did, and some people work that way like AC does. And it's like, well, who are you?
Did you just compare Hitler to AC?
I didn't want to say Hitler.
I mean, yes. Yeah, I did. I will admit it. I did, in the sense that AC is writing his hero autobiography just like Hitler was. Yes, because we all do. Because you and I are Hitler too then. We all do it. We are all the heroes in our own books.
I could have picked a less extreme example, but sorry.
But my point being is, where does it get in anybody's mind that they get to pick whether or not you're the hero in your story? Like, where is it okay for me to say, but my neighbor is not smart enough or moral enough to make the same decision that I know I can make? Because we all assume that we're going to be right when it's ourselves. And whether it's a good neighbor or a bad neighbor, we project assumptions on that neighbor. But where do we get off saying that our projections are right and they shouldn't because I'm right? That's the thing that I get stuck on in these governmental conversations in the grand scheme of things.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to, like, you know, I don't think you should have to go to a gun shop to sell a gun, but I think there should be some repercussions for me selling a gun to a felon that, you know, whether I know he's a felon or not he's a felon.
I thought it was a defense weapon.
Well, felons can't have weapons. But what I'm saying is, I sell a gun to a guy at a flea market, and he goes home and kills his wife. I just sold somebody a gun, and the guy was a felon, and I didn't even care to sell it. So I think there should be some... I don't know how you do that. I think if you just said, like, if your gun is committed to a crime from a felon, and you sold that gun, then you're responsible or something. I don't know how you would track
to be
that.
Like super autistic on it. They shouldn't know that you had the gun in the first place to sell to them. So what's it matter? But again, I mean, well, they know. Like, when you buy a gun and you go through the background check, the gun is listed. So, like, any gun that you buy from a store is that part shouldn't exist either. It would be my pushback on that. That part doesn't need to exist either. So they shouldn't know that you own the gun in the first place, let alone that you sold the gun to some other person. Like, how do they?
I think it should exist.
But I mean, that goes then. So then,
I mean, do you want to take car registrations away?
So that Smith and Wesson is at fault. I mean, that's this case has been tried 1,000 times. It's Smith and Wesson's fault that I killed my wife.
No, but Smith and Wesson will not sell a gun to a felon.
But what does that? I mean, so just because there's history makes it automatic? That seems kind of weird to me.
Yeah, if there was a guy that was known to run around the streets and shoot people, and then he goes to jail and they take his guns away, he gets out of jail and I give him a gun, I should be blamed for that. Especially if I know he's the guy that was running around the streets shooting people.
I mean, if you know that, that's one thing, but how do you know that? Because you ask him when you're walking around the thing? Or you should be obligated to ask?
No, you should not fucking sell guns to people you don't know. That's the point I'm making. You can sell to whoever you want. I can sell to you. I can sell to people that I know at the shop. I can sell to friends. I can do all that kind of stuff. But I don't think people should be at a gun store, like a gun show at Jahowie Park walking around with a AR with a sign on it that says $800, and the first person that walks up and gives him $800, he can just take it and go. Like, there's people that shouldn't have guns.
I mean,
I think we're being.
It's hard to argue that you're wrong in that, but
I think we're being irresponsible as gun owners to just be like, I don't care what he does with it. Well, you should care what he does with it, because he might kill you, or he might kill somebody you know. Like, I think there should be some kind of responsibility for gun owners. Same thing as, like, when I have a gun, I don't point a gun at somebody unless I want to shoot them. You know, it's just being safety. And I think that safety should extend to who you sell the gun to.
I feel kind of guilty. I need to apologize when AC brought his revolver a couple weeks ago for fitting in the sweet holster that I built for him. I didn't practice very good gun etiquette, and I want to apologize to the group for that. I didn't clear it first.
Yeah,
he handed it to me, and I didn't pull the cylinder to check it
to see if it was loaded yet.
Yeah, I fucked up, and I apologize to all our listeners who didn't see it happen.
To all the people that didn't know I fucked up.
I thought you did. Maybe.
So on another note, so we don't get back on politics.
just so.
What do you think about this fucking NCAA tournament?
Basketball? I don't know. I haven't paid attention, honestly. It's basketball.
Have you not been like?
I mean, I saw like UNC upset UCLA.
So if you look at the,
I know we have like some 15 or 12 seeds or something.
The Elite Eight.
St. John's,
Arkansas, number 4 versus Duke, number 2. Then you have UNC, number 8 against number 15 STP. I don't even know what that is.
Stone Temple Pilots, a great band. Fantastic band from back in the day.
St. Paul, St. Peter, St. Peter's.
Duke is putting it to Arkansas right now, just for reference.
47-37. You have Houston.
A little bit ahead of me, but yeah.
Number 5 that lost to Villanova. And then you have number 1 Kansas against number 10 Miami. There's only one seed. That's in the Elite Eight. Only two seeds.
You're not even talking about the women's tournament.
Oh, what is women's tournament?
The Lady Vols are doing what Lady Vols do.
Hey.
No, they just got knocked out today.
Did they get knocked out today?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I thought that was a story I read.
I don't see gender. I just see basketball. And so I look at the elite basketball league, whether it's male or female. I don't know how these people identify.
I mean, if we're going to do it, do you want to talk about Florida Governor DeSantis writing a proclamation saying that this trans swimmer did not win the tournament?
It's just fucking drum beating.
Stupid.
I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I don't like.
It makes him look good in his possible presidential run, but
100%, I get the politics on for his part of it. But
his letter will literally do nothing to the NCAA or whoever is the governing body.
They can,
of that.
but I mean, the state of Florida can do certain things. They can obligate things into law in the state of Florida, at least, that they may not get to host tournaments and do these other things in the future, but they can make an impact in the conversation.
Well, the person isn't transgender. They identify, right? Or did they go through the whole entire series?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
I'm in the firm opinion. You just let whoever wants to identify in whatever way, play with whatever sport they want to play in. I mean, if that's what the country is going to have, every sport will be dominated by males stated at birth. All of them.
Yeah, Tennessee ladies lost to Louisville for the girls' side of the tournament, just to get that out there. Sam was correct. He did see that headline correctly.
I may be misremembering it, but the swimmer that won, I'm pretty sure only won by like a 1/10 of a second.
Okay. I mean, it doesn't matter. If you want to do the stat that matters, is that as a male swimmer who's like 486 in the country, and he's the best in the country as a female swimmer. Maybe even only by a 1/10 of a second. He went from.
I mean, I don't know his other rankings.
I mean, it's 400 something. I don't remember the exact number, but it was a big number as a male swimmer. I mean, you could do it the other way. You could take the time that he put up, that she put up for this race that was a 1/10 of a second faster.
It would take us a minute to find it, but I mean, I'm wondering what the numbers were for that 500 meter race in the men's versus the women's.
Right. I mean, I would say traditionally it's a pretty significant difference. I mean, what's the point of what is the point of gendered sports? Why do we have gendered sports?
I don't know. We shouldn't have any sports anymore. I think we should get rid of all. There's no female sports. There's no male sports.
Just play
we
the game.
Have one sport.
It's fine. I mean,
we have softball. We have baseball. Which one do you want to play?
Co-ed.
We have swimming.
Everything's co-ed.
It's not co-ed. It's non-gendered.
Non-gendered. Whoever wants to do whatever.
I mean,
everyone just plays with whatever.
Help me out. Like, I mean, help me explain it to me so that I don't feel like such a bigot right now, because I don't know how else to feel about it. Like, if we're going to get down to the brass tacks of it, if this is what we want to do, then just drop gendered sports. There's no male female sports. Why do we have gendered sports in the first place? Why do we have baseball and softball for college players?
I mean, for the longest time, it was only male sports. Like, there were no
right. And if that's what we want to go back to, then let's do it. That's really what's at play here. If that's what we want to go back to, that only male sports matter because there is no gender anymore, and only males will play the sports because they'll be the best at it because it's physically a thing that happens. I mean, there are a handful. Like, there was one NHL goalie that was a chick for a while at Tampa back in the 90s. There's been one.
Yes.
There's been one NHL player that's female. Why? Of the thousands of players that played in the NHL between when she played and now, why has there not been another one since? Because the hockey programs are getting bigger and better every year, both sides. You got girls Olympic team is a good team. The U.S. Olympic team fields a good team. They have a bunch of girls from all over the country that are really good at hockey that goes and plays. But why hasn't there been another? Because obviously the NHL didn't have a problem with it. They let this chick play. Why haven't more played since then? It's a stupid, obvious answer, and it's not okay to say in this day and age, I guess. But 99 times out of 100, if you put a girl and a guy against each other on an equal level sport, the guy's going to win. It's just the reality. And that's fine. But if we're going to do this game where we get to have this conversation about what gender you are, and again, I acknowledge the idea that it's complicated. It's really, truly, actually complicated. That weird stuff happens, and genetically the world is fucked up. And I don't know how to fix it for everybody so that it's fair. But this doesn't make sense to me, how we're trying to do it. And if this is how we're going to try to do it, then just drop genders, and it's just sport, period. There's no conversation. It's not WNBA and NBA. It's just basketball.
Well, I mean, I'm saying, well, yeah, I said that to begin with, but I'm saying, no, you keep the NBA and the WNBA, but whoever feels like they identify a certain way plays in whatever, whether it's NBA or WNBA.
I mean, I just think you just drop it all together. What's the point?
No, because we have to realize that these people that feel like they're women, that want to play with women, that they should be playing with women. And so you still have a woman's sport, but we just take that away. And then the whole WNBA will be filled with people
dudes that aren't good enough to play in the NBA and no girls.
Yeah, and it just doesn't make any sense.
I mean, that's my catch here. I get it. And you sent Sam, you sent me that thing the other day. It's like 1 in 8. What was the number you sent me? Number of trans kids running around or something like that?
That was children that are don't have sufficient food to eat.
Oh.
That is way different.
Well, it was after
I was giving the example of Texas. Oh no, that was sorry, that was a separate. That was
right. Because you were talking about the physicians, the pediatric physicians' letter to the Texas governor or whatever, saying that this thing criminalizing. That's what we were talking about going into that. So Texas is criminalized for both the kid and the parent, allowing a transition for a minor.
Not for the parents, just the kids. Or sorry,
it's not
the kids, just the parents. Yeah.
Right. So as a parent, you can go to jail if you support your child transitioning.
No, I wouldn't necessarily go to jail. But you could lose custody of your children.
Okay, so
they were encouraging the Department of Children's Services to investigate you going with the doctor. Right.
If your kid wants to transition and you're okay with it, then you will be investigated by the State Department of kids services or whatever like that in Texas. So,
but I think they were trying to label as child abuse. So,
right,
I mean,
whatever
there
the specific
could be,
whatever the specific penalty is, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
And so,
Sorry.
and my stance on that one is like, if I were a state senator in Texas, I would not vote for this law to be put into place. I don't think it's the state's right to have that conversation. It's none of the state's fucking business. As a human, I would be very cautious with encouraging that activity. I'm not going to say you can and can't do that. It's not my fucking place. But at the same time, as a 14-year-old, I was fucking dumb. I was real fucking dumb. And if I was stuck permanently with some of the decisions I thought were right when I was 14, it'd be a shit world that I live in right now. If I didn't get to change my mind and get smarter after I was 14. Or, fuck it, let's change the age of consent to 12 and get this fucking over with, and just everything's 12. And then it's not the parents' responsibility because the parents don't get to make the decision anymore because the age of consent's passed. That's my stance on it.
That's... What? That doesn't make sense at all.
What?
You're saying a 14-year-old makes stupid decisions, so why don't we just let 12-year-olds make whatever stupid decisions, and we can say, well, that's your fault. You were old enough.
I mean, we already do on some level anyway.
Do you not see that those are two totally conflicting...
I'm trying to illustrate how fucking stupid the world we live in is, yes.
Okay.
12-year-olds are smart enough to make certain decisions, but not smart enough to make other ones, and this, that, and the other. We have these arbitrary fucking numbers we throw around on when you're allowed to make decisions for yourself. And depending very specifically on what the thing is. You're not smart enough to know if you could smoke or not, but you're smart enough to have an abortion. You're not smart enough to know if you can handle alcohol or not, but you're smart enough to get vaccines in your body.
You cannot go and get an abortion without parental access in most states under the age of 18.
Okay.
That's not true.
I believe that's not true either, but I don't know. I'm not going to say that's not true, but I'm pretty sure that you can. I'm pretty sure that, and there's lots of fighting to make it an option without parental consent.
Might be 16.
It doesn't matter. Fine, if it's 16. You even if it's 18, you can't drink a beer, smoke a cigarette, but you can abort a child. You can make that decision. You're smart enough to handle the decision for the life of another human being, theoretically. Let me throw that in there nicely. Theoretically. But you're not smart enough to smoke a cigarette or take a loan or go to war. Or I guess you are go to war.
You go to war.
Yeah. Whatever.
And get a loan.
The moral of the story is these numbers are stupid, arbitrary. So it doesn't make sense to me. Like, explain to me how a 13-year-old in the state of Tennessee is smart enough to make decisions about vaccines in their body. And then it matters to their body and they can make those decisions. But they're not smart enough to smoke. And make the decision on whether smoking's a good idea or not. Explain to me how that makes sense. How they're smart enough for one and not the other.
As far as vaccines go, I don't know about parental consent in that, of when that's allowable and when it's not.
I know the Tennessee allows, I think it's down to 12. You can get a vaccine without your parents' consent in the state of Tennessee at 12. I'm 99% sure on that. Because it only came up because it's been on the books for years, but it only came up all of a sudden out of nowhere because the State Department of Health was like, hey, kids, I don't care if your parents are crazy and don't think you should get this stupid COVID vaccine. You can get it without their permission. We have this law that's been on the books for a while. Check it out. It's been around for a while. It just came back up this year because the contentiousness of the COVID era.
Well, talking about sports and women and all that kind of stuff, take something like running.
Back. Go ahead.
Like running, marathon.
Uh-huh.
The girl that won the New York Marathon, whenever the last one was, I don't know if this one's been this year or last year. If she ran in against the men, she would have placed 30th. So this Tyler McCandles that placed 29th, he decided that he wanted to be a female. He could win the New York Marathon every year. And that's not even like, that's not like competing physically.
Running is not athletic.
You know what I mean? No.
I heard where you were going.
Like,
it's fine.
Yeah, it's not like boxing or like MMA or, football, or it's just someone running on a road.
Yeah.
Little man ran the kids marathon today.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting. Mom had to run with him.
Like a 5K?
it's kind of cool. Like a couple of weeks ago, it was like a month ago. It's the kids one. They did a mile at the zoo, and then they give you this cool little chart thing, and you do 24.2 miles at home for over a month, and then you come back and run the last mile downtown and the last mile of the actual route. It was really neat. Super quick though. We have some friends stayed over, and so they came with us, and so they went up.
Did your kid actually run 25?
Oh hell yeah!
0.2 at home.
Yeah, I mean, the rules say like for every an hour of play, an hour of outside play counts as a mile. But even in that, he
didn't. So what you're saying is he didn't.
I mean, we didn't go do mile chunks at a time.
No.
But he went out there and it was cool. It was fun. It was exciting.
He was outside for an hour, so we marked him off for a mile.
Yeah,
he played fetch with the dog for an hour, standing in one place.
He was jumping on the trampoline.
Have you tried to play fetch with my dog? It is a workout. He will run your arm off.
Yeah.
But
as far as sports go, I'm with many legislatures that say we should leave that up to just whoever the sports governing body is. I don't think we need to leave it up to state and county legislatures to make decisions over a different sporting governing bodies.
I say
they know better how to equal out competitiveness.
I don't know. I say I agree, but again, what is
they change rules on what outfits
really?
You can wear?
Like, what is the NCAA really? That is a money making machine. That's all it does. And if nothing else, and this is the libertarian of the group speaking right now, if nothing else, what is the number one thing the government does? Regulate business. Seems reasonable to me that the government should regulate. Probably, I would argue that in varsity and above athletics are some of the biggest businesses in the state of Tennessee. TSSAA, NCAA, all the colleges that do sports throughout the state of Tennessee, professional sports in the state of Tennessee. That's big fucking business. And I'm being completely non-libertarian about this right now. But honestly, if the government is supposed to do anything and it's supposed to be any good at anything, it's supposed to regulate business. To be fair, that's what I thought it was one of the top jobs they're supposed to do. And so I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. That's all I'm saying.
They don't pick winners and losers.
I'm not saying they're good at their job, but that's what they're supposed to do. I mean, am I wrong? That's what we think they're supposed to do.
That is a roundabout. Yes, that is one of the aspects of what our Congress does. Yes, yeah, sure.
I'm sure. What do they do?
Many of things.
Many of things. Important things. Certainly more important things than figuring out who should win a swimming race. I agree. My point, whatever. I agree that it's stupid and it doesn't need to be a politics thing. And it's a dumbass thing that DeSantis is using this as a tool for his potential presidential run in 24. I think that's dumb. I think it's stupid, and it should be a negative. It should be a net negative for him as a politician that he's using this as a tool.
But it'll never be a net negative.
But it's not, right. And he knows it's not going to be, and that's why he did it.
He gets some more support.
Right.
Like, hey, standing up for our rights.
But, I don't know. I mean, again, I agree in principle. But, I mean, realistic. I don't even think you agree with what you just said, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it. No, because you, like, if employers are out there doing shitty things to their employees, you would complain about that. You would think you would like the government to step in and do something about it.
I would go
if Amazon is working.
I would go to OSHA, which is the governing body for occupational.
Okay, so if Amazon is working their guys 14-hour days and not giving them bathroom breaks and all this different bullshit that Amazon apparently does already anyway,
right?
And one of your friends worked there, and you wanted to you're like, this is fucked up. Somebody should do something about this, and you were going to go out and do something about it. You would go to the government and say, hey, this is fucked up. They shouldn't be able to do this. And so some girl...
Where in the government would I go to do that? To my federal representative?
I don't know. OSHA is one, sure. You could go to Governor Lee or Senator Massey.
I have no standing to make a complaint to OSHA. You can only make a complaint to OSHA as if you are
okay. So then you go to Senator Massey and say, "Hey, I don't think this is okay. I don't think this is okay. What a company in the state of Tennessee is doing."
What's Massey going to say? I don't have sway over Amazon.
She has the ability to have sway if she wants to.
In what aspect?
She could put a bill in place, like change minimum wage in the state of Tennessee. That's one thing that she could definitely do. She can't do it unilaterally, but the government can. They could change minimum wage and be like, hey, minimum wage in the state of Tennessee is $20 right now. This thing that you're doing on Amazon's not okay. You got to at least pay people $20 an hour to do it. You can't pay minimum wage for this shit. It's fucked up.
Slim possibility.
You know, they could change labor law in the state of Tennessee that says a 36-hour work week instead of a 40 or a 30-hour work week. They can do a lot of shit like that.
Yeah.
So you see a thing that's fucked up that a business is doing. You go to the government and say, hey, this is fucked up, and they're not going to stop doing it on their own. I don't know what else to do. I tried to organize a strike. I couldn't get enough employees on board, but they're going to kill somebody. We have to do something to stop this. Please help me, Massey, Manis, Sam McKenzie, whoever your actual reps are. We need to do something about this. This is a problem. You get enough people behind it and get it rolling, boom. New law in place. Amazon has to change their tactics. Technically, specifically, I don't see how this is any different with the NCAA. Now, the argument on whether you think it's wrong or not is a separate conversation. But people think it's wrong that this is happening. A business is doing a thing. The government has standing to get into that and say, hey,
well, then why would they not ask the government to, if they have that quote-unquote power over the TSSAA, NCAA, whatever, why would they not petition them directly to change their rules?
I don't know if they are or not. I mean,
because the laws they write do not apply to those specific entities.
They could.
They can only apply to the
not.
They only apply to the schools being able to field those athletes in that particular sport. As far as I understand all the bills.
I mean,
it strictly limits the athletes and what they can essentially.
Well, then maybe somebody's not going at what they see as the problem is correctly. That they need to go after the NCAA to force the NCAA to do what they want anyway. It's the same animal. It's the same format. It's just a different.
At the same time, I don't think that state legislatures can add laws to TSSAA.
They absolutely can add laws to TSSAA because that is a Tennessee body. Now, can they do anything to the NCAA? That might be a little bit harder. That might need to be federal because the NCAA is a national company that operates all over the country. And
I'm not sure what TSSAA, who above them is.
I mean, I believe, and Max probably knows the answer, but I believe that they were a subsidiary of the Department of Education.
Yep.
In the state. So the State Board of Education, non-elected body, could do something about this if they wanted to. Or any state legislature, they can get a bill passed because they have the ability to control what the State Board of Education does.
Well, I guess whatever bill they pass would, in effect, affect any TSSAA
right. The one
or
that Tennessee's been talking about and floating around in this whole, the high school bill that's been floating around in conversation, that's easy. Functionally. Not easy to do or not do, but functionally and legally speaking, it's an easy one to do because the state of Tennessee controls all the schools in the state of Tennessee. Therefore, they can change a rule however they want to.
So I was reading about the swimmer, Leah. So USA Swimming allows transgender athletes who are competing at an elite level to have a small amount of testosterone. Half of what Thomas was allowed to compete with, or at least 36 months before being eligible. But the NCAA said weeks later that the administrative subcommittee of the Committee on Competitive Safeguards and Medical Aspects of Sports had decided it would alter its testosterone guidance starting. So they allowed her to compete even though she was over USA Swimming policy on how much testosterone she's allowed to have.
But NCAA has no obligation to follow USA Swimming policy. They may do it as a standard, but they're not obligated to do so.
Yeah, so it looks like the NCAA is saying that it has to be a true transgender person. Because I think as society we throw around a person being transgender.
Well, because I mean the literal definition.
We assume people are just going to fake it. I mean, that's the whole thing with the bathroom bill bullshit.
I'm not even assuming. I mean, the bathroom one.
They're thinking it opens up the door to predators. I mean, it'd be the same aspect in sports as well. Not a predator, but someone that is taking advantage of that.
Right, sure.
Being predatory in that aspect.
Right.
Like, no, I'm a woman. I'm a power lifter.
I think I think there's a functional difference in conversation here. I mean, I just think there is a functional difference in conversation when you transition. There is a difference. I mean, we talked about this the other day. There's a difference in the way bodies develop,
right? And that's
generally
why,
speaking, and then
there are guidelines in place for it.
So when you transition, is a part of the conversation for this trans athlete.
They look at hormone levels, I think. I don't know
about
look
at hormone levels.
Yeah, but current hormone levels are one thing.
They have to be transitioned. But I mean, I'm saying in today's society, is there a term for somebody that is wanting like a male that identifies as a female and lives as a female, but has not had surgery yet?
Right, that is a trans woman. That's part of the problem too. Is the term trans is so broad?
We call that trans,
right.
But technically they're not transgender.
I believe that is technically correct terminology wise.
They're trans are essentially in the process of it, or kind of like that in between a transition.
Right. I think theoretically the goal in the parts of speech here, at least, is you're not a trans woman in the process, and you're a woman on the other side.
Yeah, but then it's completely different than a transvestite, which is a male that just likes to dress up like women.
I think it goes both ways, but I don't know.
Right. I don't know. Yeah.
No, like transvestites.
Horror Picture Show. Yeah.
Don't think they're women. They're happy to have their penis.
That's a drag queen.
All that.
I don't know. I don't know the rules on this. I'm out of my depth by a lot.
The problem also is it's very, very fluid. And
very, very subjective, and very. And again, in most things, I don't think it's that big a fucking deal. Like even in the bathroom part of things, I don't think it's that big a fucking deal.
Oh yeah. I mean, the whole bathroom thing was.
But when you're getting down to a significant life choice for an individual, not the trans individual, but I'm a highly competitive elite swimmer. I'm a highly competitive elite athlete of some level. I don't know. I mean, it is a different subgenre of conversation, and I think that's the part that gets really funky. And I get it on both sides, but I think at the end of the day, that the idea that we're talking about scholarships on some level gets interesting, and opportunities for girls. I don't know. I mean, I would assume at some point, it may not have happened yet, but I think one of the fears at play is that at some point you're going to have you're going to have kids that are getting scholarships in sports that it doesn't function right, or it falls under this trans category. That it's a fairness issue in the game of sport. The reason we have gendered sports is because there is a biological functional difference in the way males and females develop, and that there is a significant advantage in most sports to being a male to play that sport, and that's why we have gendered sports. If it didn't matter, then we wouldn't have gendered sports in the first place. Not anymore, at least. Historically, sure. But in the recent past and how prevalent girl sports are, and how, I mean, you have girls now. Like, I got the neighbor kid that plays baseball that I give him shit about being a baseball dork all the time, right? There are girls now in elementary school that are already into softball, that are going to camp and are going to lessons and are going to seminars and going to all these things all the time, that are like fully dedicated softball kids in elementary school. Like, this path has started for them already, which is something that used to not happen. Sure. Now, maybe softball is a bad example. Maybe soccer would be a better example, because whatever. So you have girls that are into soccer and boys that are into soccer, and they're both going to camp, and they're super dedicated and dedicated. They want it, and they want it, and they want it, and they're trying. All they care about is soccer. And they're going to develop 100% all the time, putting all their energy and effort into soccer. When they're seniors in high school, well, it's not even seniors in high school, when they're freshmen in high school playing soccer, should they be on the same team? Are they going to be competitively equivalent? All other things being equal, time, energy, effort, everything else being equal. Only difference is boy-girl. Are they going to be competitive playing against each other in soccer. Soccer's not a good example. Maybe tennis should be a better example because that's one-on-one. Soccer being a team sport. You got a dude on a crappy soccer team and a really good girls team. Girls might be able to beat him.
Well, I mean, like the whole saying is why the United States doesn't compete in soccer is because the United States' best soccer athletes never touch soccer ball.
Right. They're all playing all the other sports.
And I wonder, as time goes on, and it's been like this for a while, but as time goes on, are sports going to dumb down from the level that they play at? Because you're going to have, I mean, you know, kids that are just have an affinity for a sport. It just makes sense. They just get it, blah, blah, blah. That kid that was going to be the next greatest NFL quarterback ever, blow everyone's records away, never touches a football because his dad likes baseball and he puts him in baseball from when he was 6 years old, and he plays baseball through his high school, maybe some college career. And, you know, back when I was in school, like everybody did multiple sports. You had people playing football, basketball, baseball. Like they were doing everything.
Like, I mean, Brady was drafted in baseball. Mahomes was drafted in baseball.
Neon.
No, but I'm saying nowadays, I'm talking about since my kids have been in school, it seems like kids pick one sport for the most part, and they're doing.
I agree. The specialization is at play. 100%.
Is there's so much. It's like you're talking about. You know, these kids that are, you know, softball in third grade and going to summer camps and travel teams and all this kind of stuff. Maybe that would be the next, you know, super kick-ass soccer player or something. But they never go because it seems like kids are not forced, but
right. They fall into
to do a one sport person.
Right. I agree that that will be an interesting thing to watch in sports as it continues to have it. But my point being that, I mean, again, the question I put out there was if we take two kids that are 100% all in all the time, going to camps, going to this, going to that, doing this all the time, tennis being a more equal conversation because it's a one-on-one sport. Realistically, you think the girl's going to beat the boy 50% of the time?
No.
I think it'd go either way.
Okay.
It's only went either way one time, and that was...
Right, that was a dude that was like 300 in the world versus the best female in the world at the time.
What was it? Who was her people? What are their names? Damn it.
Was it Mary Lou Retton? No, that's a gymnast.
That's a gymnast.
There's a three-name lady.
Talking about in tennis?
Yeah.
It was Billie Jean King, and I can't remember the guy's name.
Right, but he was not top echelon of the men's game at the time.
Right.
He was good, but
he just talked about shit that he was better than any woman to ever play.
Right, and then she beat him. But my point being is you.
Shit! I gotta look that up.
Actually, I just saw something on the other day. I don't remember what I was watching.
They're doing a movie. I think they did a movie on it recently or something like that.
They mentioned
in the last couple of years.
Anyway. I don't believe you that you actually believe that. That everything being equal except the gender, that a girl's going to win in most sports most of the time or half the time.
I don't know about half the time, but I think at times it could go either way, depending on body type.
I would say it wouldn't be a perfect game in tennis by the dude.
You're going on someone the size of
a few games, but
someone the size of Messi that has more agility, or someone that's, you know, half a foot, 8 inches taller that doesn't have the agility but has more of the power. Really depends on it. It's going to have more of a stride, so they can essentially run further in less steps.
I get what you're saying, that it'd be a very, again, all things being equal, the type of player they are,
all things being equal muscle mass. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The equal muscle mass is not going to happen, and that's the point. It's very unlikely to happen naturally through the efforts. If a girl,
I thought she said all things equal.
Okay. I mean, yeah. You're right.
All things equal.
All things being equal. Then yes, obviously 50% of the time, if everything is equal except for the thing between their legs, everything else is 100% equal. Then obviously it'd be 50% of the time because everything else is equal. The dick itself is not the thing that's winning games. You're right.
I'm saying it's possible.
I just don't.
I'm giving you the parameters.
You're right, and I was overly broad in my use of the all things being equal statement, and I apologize. That was not the intent of the phrasing I was trying to use. I meant all things being equal.
You should know when talking to AC. You got those specifics.
I know he's not here. I let my guard down. I apologize. All right, last call, motherfuckers. What do you guys want to do? Anything else before we go?
Well, I'm still looking up this Battle of the Sexes.
Well, you better hurry up because I got an outro coming, and it's going to be really weird if you go like,
I think if you literally look up just Battle of the Sexes, I think that is the epitome of Battle of the Sexes match.
It's a classic.
Bobby Riggs.
Right, and the moral of the story is we could figure out her name pretty quick because she was fucking good.
She was, yeah.
We didn't care about him because he wasn't that great.
She was a famous tennis player. He was, I don't even know if he was ever famous as a tennis player. And this was a game. He
won the men's single and doubles, 1939.
And what year did he play her?
1939. That was like 60s or 70s, I think.
Yeah. So he was way
70s
late.
probably.
Right. He was probably he probably retired for playing professionally.
Best player in the world in 1939.
He was great when he was 18.
Right.
And 1973 is when he challenged Billie King.
So all things are not equal in that statement. And when he was in his prime, I'd probably think I'd guess he'd beat her.
Yeah, she just called him out. I mean, I don't know if he said he was better than any woman in the world, and she was like, okay. Really? Let's do this.
Right. That's my understanding of the story, at least, is that she was just like, you're an idiot. Yeah. Okay.
And a lot of people say it was just a publicity stunt, and he threw the game, and there's all sorts of theories around it.
Conspiracy theory stuff. What was the conspiracy theory? Oh, yeah, Cedar Bluff's full of caves. My local conspiracy theory. I'm going to start to get rolling.
Yeah.
Just remember that one. Have you guys watched Red yet? We'll close on this one. The new Pixar movie.
Nope.
No.
I can't figure out. Like it is a. Max, you wish you had this a few years ago. You might still be good with the little one. It is literally a giant period metaphor.
I don't have a little one.
How old is she now?
13.
Okay. I mean, she's right there, but it's she's past the okay.
Yeah.
Past that point. But anyway, it would have been handy when you had to help explain that life change process at the time. It's not a bad movie. It's kind of fun, but like it was pretty obvious. But like, yeah, I'm grateful to have watched it with the kids, and it's something that my boys will have a little bit better understanding to that process that they don't have to.
There's a cartoon about getting your period.
Pretty much. I mean, yeah, it's the whole thing. It's a giant metaphor. Or it's a giant.
I'll pass.
It's
a 2 hour. It's a 2 hour first period metaphor. And so it was interesting. But the weird thing about it to me is that it's set in 2002. Just came out. It's set in 2002. And I'm trying to figure out where it sits in the Pixar pantheon, because I can't help but believe that they set it where they set it in time, because all the Pixar movies, like I know you guys have seen some of these like theories of the Pixar movies. It's like the dinosaur movie and like all the movies, if the movies didn't release in order, but if you put them all back in order, like they all connect. And so like Toy Story is as the human race is dying and the toys and inanimate objects are taking over the world and kind of shit like this. It's a whole big long, it's a crazy fun thing. Look it up on YouTube. They're really fun.
Okay.
Sure.
And so anyway, moral is I'm trying to figure out where this new movie sits in the broad story, because I can't figure, like, why would you set a movie in 2002 right now? Because it wasn't like a value point. Like it had it wasn't like something specific about 2002 itself that was an underlying thread of it. Like, I mean, it was kind of had boy band stuff in it, which 2002 was a boy band era, but so is now. So it's not like, you know, like I can't figure out why they picked 2002, and it's got to be.
What boy band
is now?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
There's a few.
I mean, KTS is like the biggest band on the planet right now. You don't know them because you're old. I know you're old. It's fine. It's a boy band. You shouldn't know them. You're old.
Is it K-pop? It's a boy band
named KTS.
Yeah, it's the K-pop band.
BTS, I thought.
BTS, you're right. I'm sorry. It's BTS. Oh, okay. I apologize.
I was like, is there a new one that I haven't really heard about? That's the biggest
Korean,
thing?
Whatever. It's all this.
And I'm the idiot.
I am the idiot. You're right. I'm sorry.
You don't know who KTS is?
You know,
fucking stupid.
You didn't assume that I meant BTS. You're stupid. Yes. Anyway, on that note, I want to figure out where the period movie lands in the Pixar pantheon of stuff. So, all right, fellas, that's the show. Good night. Almost Agreement, boys and girls. We're back. AC's never coming back. Don't worry about it. You're never going to hear from him again. So we're just going to talk shit about him while he's not here. That's what we do. Almost Agreement at gmail.com. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Go to our website, almostagreement.com. That's where the good stuff's at. Voter guide, other fun stuff like that. New exciting project coming out this week, so you'll actually get me to say something about it next show. For sure. Talking to a few different people over the next couple weeks. I'm hoping to get a couple actual interviews back on the docket this week. Nothing confirmed yet, but I do have a few people I've been talking to, a couple mayor candidates, among others. So, anyway, Almost Agreement, everybody. Go to your favorite podcast provider, follow us there, give us a like, share, tell your friends about us, that kind of thing. We're going to keep working on this, and I'm going to keep complaining about government because that's what I do. All right, that's it. Good night, everybody.